episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Hansen, joined by the great Jeff Marchiafava.
Hey!
The Pizza Man! And then we got Dan Tag.
Why does he get to be the pizza man?
Welcome, Dan
What if
Tag.
I want a pizza.
What if every YouTube commenter right now said, Dan Tag, so good to see you?
Hey, YouTube commenters. Good to see you.
Beautiful. We love the audio listeners more. And we have Jeff Cork here as well.
Hi.
We have a jam-packed show. We're talking about a lot. Out of the gate, we're talking about Friday the 13th. It's going to be spooky, but it's going to be interesting. You guys have been playing a lot of this asymmetrical, co-op, competitive nonsense and screaming a lot. So we're going to dive into all that. After that, we're talking about Tekken 7.
Ooh.
Mark, what do you think about Tekken 7?
Oh, Heihachi. Finally, that saga's drawing to a
Hibachi.
close. What's going to happen?
We're getting Serial in here to talk about all that. Don't worry, Jeff. I'm going to be
Okay,
long gone. Then we're doing more swaps. We're going to talk a little bit about Star Trek VR, a little bit about the third season of The Walking Dead, which Kim finished. Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind, Dan, do you want to touch on a little bit?
We sure do.
And the Hot Witcher spinoff, Gwent. You got it. There we go. We're going to talk all about it. Then we have some great emails, but also we're going to set up a surprise emergency game club session.
This means someone did not have their act together.
No, it's going to be fun. So
Why is it an emergency?
Yeah.
because E3's coming up, let's have one quick blast, a one-episode game club that'll be next week. It'll be for a short game. What short game? Stay tuned for later in the show. We'll talk all about it.
I know what it is.
No, don't say. Then after all that, we're interviewing Richard Rouse III, which is an interesting name. Richard has been all around the industry. He worked on Suffering. He worked at Ubisoft for a while on Rainbow Six Patriots. Hot franchises like that. He's now working on an indie game which sounds really interesting called Church in the Darkness. He's also at Microsoft, working on State of Decay, Quantum Break, a lot of. He's seen a lot of the indies, so it's an interesting chat. We talked about his time at Microsoft and kind of being on that crack team where he's in the publisher side of things, being sent out to consult, design with different teams. I asked him a simple question of like, who's one of the most underappreciated teams? Who's the most interesting or impressive team you worked with? He had a very unexpected answer.
I can't wait.
My name is Stay tuned to find out all about it.
All that time in the industry of why he's making a game about a cult.
Well, that's interesting because he left Ubisoft saying, I don't think a AAA publisher would make a game about a cult. And then started working on this game about a cult, and then Ubisoft announced this Far Cry 5. So we talked all about that. He talks a lot about working on State of Decay's DLC, kind of the lessons being on the inside of that team, seeing Undead Labs' work and everything. He goes deeper into the cancellation of Rainbow Six Patriots than he ever has. Jeff Cork, you were on that cover story trip.
I was.
Do you remember Richard?
Which guy was
He was the really handsome, articulate one?
Oh, he's the one who had that, like, PR came and cut him off?
Look, Rainbow Six Patriots was a tricky game to talk about. We talk about
was very
all that
tricky to
stuff.
talk about.
Yeah, so it's a good chat, so stay tuned for that. As for now, Friday the 13th. Jeff, you're reviewing this. You've been playing it for a while. It's a little janky. Jeff Cork, you've been playing a lot of it. You two have been screaming at each other. What is the consensus so far on Friday the 13th?
I'd say it's really fun when it works.
And what holds it back from working?
Just connectivity issues, the servers, a lot, like you said, a lot of jankiness going on in there, and I think there are some design tweaks that should really happen.
So that's what's under the hood. On the surface level, I hear a lot of you guys screaming and saying, "Oh my God, Jason's right there! Yeah. He's right here! He's coming for us! He's swimming through the water like a dolphin!" So this seems like, I know Tim Turry in particular, when we talked about it years ago, this seems like the Friday the 13th game that people say they wanted for a long time, where it's kind of a multiplayer horror experience, right?
And that works really well.
Okay.
And they did a great job on the fan service. I think there have been a number of times where we've been playing and it's, I don't want to say straight out of a movie, but it captures all the moments that you remember from all the movies, where you'll have two guys trying to escape in a boat, and at the last second, he'll lunge out of the water in exactly the same way that you remember from the movies, and tip him over and then sink him down in, or he'll smash through a door and grab your head and do all the different kind of execution kills and stuff.
And like those jump scares, even when another player is controlling Jason, works well.
Yeah, they still work well. And they throw in a bunch. I have jumped multiple times just when you see a dead body, because they'll kind of do these screeching violins and they'll pull in super tight, and your character will scream and I'll still jump like an idiot playing it.
Never mind the fact that more often than not, the dead body that you're seeing has ragdolled like a folding chair.
Well, what's more terrifying than seeing a loved one ragdoll?
And yeah, that's right. Good point.
So it just feels like it's basically Evolve, right? As someone who reviewed Evolve, can you draw any comparison to that?
Yeah, and I've been thinking a lot about that, especially in terms, because I think I liked Evolve more than a lot of people did, and the number one complaint was that there's not enough content. And, you know, in this one, you kind of have 3 very similar maps, and you have basically one bad guy, although there are several variations.
Different skins, right, from different movies.
Yes.
With different abilities.
They have different. Well, the abilities are the same, but they kind of have different stats associated with, you know, how long the cooldowns and stuff like that last. And so, I would say the biggest difference, though, is the tone. Where, you know, in Evolve, you had 4 people who were trying to hunt down this monster, and in this one, you're really just trying to escape that monster, and it does have a much more of a survival horror feel.
So basically, I'll pull back for your benefit.
Yeah.
The premise of the game is it starts off with the same guy in a blue plaid shirt getting hit in the back with an axe or a pickaxe or some weapon.
Every match.
Everyone scatters, and then it's like, then 5 minutes later, survive. And there are several different ways you can do that. You can outlast everyone, which takes 15, 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, 20. It's a 20-minute match.
You can outwit. You can outplay. You can outlast. Or you can like find a fuse and repair the phone, which will enable you to call the police, and then that sets a timer for 5 minutes, at which point the police are there, but you have to run to a tunnel and get there in time. You can gas up a car or a boat, and both of those need another item to get them going. So you need a propeller for the boat, you also need battery for the car, as well as keys. So you're kind of like looking around the camps and cabins for these items to escape. And the whole time Jason is hunting you, and it's asymmetric in the fact that, you know, obviously he's Jason, but he has abilities. He can warp around, which they call morphing.
Yeah, you can morph around the map, which is not how that word works.
But whatever.
Okay.
Close enough. The jankiness is is all encompassing.
Yeah.
But it's very tense because of course, you know, you can only carry the gas can, but that means you can't carry a weapon with you. And weapons are very limited, will only stun Jason. So you can hit him with a shotgun, for instance. It'll knock him over like a tree, but he'll come back in like 20 seconds. So it's just enough time to run away and temporarily escape, hopefully drawing him into the path of like a fellow player.
Yeah.
Do
Do you feel like with all those different strategies, have you guys started to see the code of the Matrix here and realize, like, okay, it's a formula, let's just go for plan B, push forward? Or do you feel like it's dynamic enough where even if we're playing it for like a week, it's still interesting?
Yeah, kind of. You can't just do one formula because all the different pieces that you need to activate one of the escape routes are randomized. So you always have to find them in the map. So you can't just say, well, okay, we're always going to go for the car, we're always going to go for the boat.
Like the car has the advantage you can have up to 4 people can make an escape simultaneously. The boat can only carry 2.
Ooh, so you can leave someone behind?
Oh, people get left behind all the time.
I've never had another person with me in the boat. Like as soon as I get that going, it's like.
Yeah, and one interesting design thing is when you die, you can call in Tommy. What's his Jarvis?
Tommy Jarvis.
Yeah, he's a character from the movies, but basically he comes back with a shotgun and he can try and help other people escape. Except so whoever escapes or dies first or whatever, they're the ones who get to come back, which is kind of nice that you're not waiting the full 20 minutes if you're the first person to die. But when Quark plays him, he comes back, and then he immediately tries to leave again and screws over everyone else, which is a nice touch.
It seemed like this entire game was elevated to another level when you finally got to play as Jason. It's very much like the Metal Gear Solid 3 multiplayer, which everyone remembers, where it randomizes who gets to play as Snake, and when it's finally your turn, okay, let's go. Do you feel like in control, and like that's where the game's at?
It is so much better when you're Jason, and they do a good job of making him as overpowered as you would hope that he would be. He's still slow, so most of the characters are going to outrun you, but the abilities make you, let you kind of morph or warp, in front of them, and kind of set up this exactly the kind of situations that you expect in horror movies, where the person will be running away from you, and they'll turn around a corner, and you're standing right there, and you grab them, for the big scare and kill.
With a lot of cackling.
Yes.
It's interesting and somewhat frustrating the way that it happens, too. It just randomly selects someone to be Jason, but in your profile you can say, I have a preference to be a counselor or Jason. I have said I would like to be Jason. I have yet to be him. And I've played probably more than a dozen matches at this point. It's frustrating because a game like this, it's largely dependent on kind of outwitting your opponent, and I don't fully understand the tools that Jason has because I have not played as him, so I don't know exactly what he's seeing. I have watched Bob on his screen, but it's frustrating because I feel like to be a better counselor, you need to fully understand what Jason is, how he works mechanically, so you can be like, oh, if I crouch, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. Or maybe it makes a huge difference. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's kind of annoying.
Turns out when you have, 7 people playing as a counselor and 1 playing as Jason, everyone wants to be Jason. I'm sure everyone in their preference has, Jason checked off. So I've gotten to play as him 2.5 times, I think. And the half was because the character who was hosting left, and so we all got kicked out, and no one got XP that round.
And when you're talking about a game that can last 20 minutes, and no one gets XP or any progression for that, it's a real bummer.
Yeah.
So, are you guys just playing it in a very ideal scenario where you have a full team, like 4 friends playing it, it feels great, and that's what's leading to so much fun and cackling and screaming in the audience? Do you think the average player can have that, or is it more janky than I realize under the hood here?
It's pretty janky. I'd say we've been having about half of a team of us, and I've been playing it, some solo. And it's fun either way. It's definitely more fun when you have a bunch of people that you want to actually hear through your headsets, and you're kind of coordinating where everything is and trying to get together and stuff like that.
Yeah. So, would you recommend it to someone who wants another Evolve-like experience or a new take on survival horror?
That's what I have been wrestling with and will, for the next couple of days, trying to figure out where this lands, both on our review scale and kind of recommendation, because there have been some really fun moments that, I'd say Eclipse, Evolve, and probably remind me a lot of Left 4 Dead would be the other one where, you're trying to figure out, you want to wait for your friends to come with you, but sometimes you just have to leave them behind, and you look in the rearview mirror as they're being choked out and things like that. But at the same time, it has just been such a technical mess that it's really hard. We have, spent so much time waiting to try and get into a match. You get put in it, you get kicked out of the lobby because there's, some kind of problem with it. And then just on the design side of it, it really does suck when you die in the first couple minutes and then you have to wait 17 minutes if you don't get picked. Sometimes, even we'll have matches where we escape and it's really exciting, the lead up to it, but then you're still left for the 10 minutes where there's one character left and, he's hiding under a bed somewhere and Jason just can't find him.
So you're looking through that person's eyes for 10 minutes.
Or you can, ridiculous that it makes you stay in the game no matter what, even if you lose and you just want to get out and go play another one.
Or if you escape, and it's
just
like
stupid.
You have nothing to contribute at that point. You might as well just let them, free them up and let those guys get out of there and get into a different game.
And to be fair, it can be, if you do have a couple of survivors, it can be really fun to spectate, too.
Yeah, sometimes it is.
You're just like, oh my god, these 2 people know what they're doing, they're evading, they're using traps effectively, it's super exciting.
But the other limitation of that, too, is that you can't follow Jason as he's playing.
Right.
And I guess they do that so that you can't give hints to, the other people. But it's like, just cut the mics at that point and let you spectate Jason, because that's the most interesting part.
Well, you could always be using Discord or like another service. So
they aren't that technical to begin with, because if you're in a party and you turn into Jason, I can still hear everyone else on their mics, as they're talking about how they're trying to evade and stuff.
That's interesting. Here's the core question, though, Cork. Are you having more fun with this game or PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which you have purchased and have set up and have played at home?
They are very different games. I think there's, they both have a similar sense of desperation, but obviously, Battlegrounds, you're not being eclipsed by somebody who is just, far superior in a lot of fundamental ways. It's always, this aspirational element to it where it's like, oh, I could get a sniper rifle and be like that. And whereas Friday the 13th, it's like, maybe I'll play as Jason someday.
Yeah, well, the way Dan Tech plays, he's basically Jason.
Falling off a roof.
I've gotten my way with shotguns now, man. I am getting clinical with shotguns.
Dan, I guess we haven't talked on the podcast about Battlegrounds for a while.
I know, and I'd love to talk about it every week.
How has your appreciation
Fascinating
grown?
experiences with that game every evening almost.
Yeah?
I adore that game, and it's not without its technical issues, right? It needs optimization of the yin yang.
Oh my!
But the core concept, and I haven't played Friday the 13th, but just talking about it here, you got people being held hostage in the game. You have the awesome ability in PlayerUnknown, if you go out in the first minute because you chose to, like I like to do, drop at the school with 10 other people and see who comes out, all right, of the bloodbath.
School's in session.
You die. Who cares? You're in the next round within a minute.
Yeah.
Cool. And it's a completely different game. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Just asymmetrical, I think, is really difficult. I don't think anybody's really clicked onto it yet. And I think I hope Friday the 13th has some legs, but I don't feel that's going to be the case.
There's glimmers of brilliance in every asymmetrical game.
Mm-hmm.
No one's really knocked out of the park. But Cork, are you enjoying Battlegrounds so far? Are you going to keep playing it? I'm trying to get a read on it. I haven't played it yet with you. It's frustrating.
Yeah, I would like to play that with you. Yeah, speaking of not playing,
it's very fun.
I see this guy on every night, but he never wants to play with me.
I got a pretty sweet crew.
All right, buddy.
In about every night. I would if there's room, I would love to get you
come
in.
hang with the boatman, okay?
What is the boatman?
I'm getting killer with the boat.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, I go for the boats.
You gun for boats?
Going for the boats.
And then do what?
You try to drive it up on people on the beach.
So you just...
You're the Jaws?
Yeah, you're like... You're basically just becoming a shark and then hoping that someone gets near the water.
People with the boat. You wait for this. This is obviously only a match where the circle is going to take you near the river, right?
This is a very select...
It's not.
Okay.
Because it's always I think they changed it so it can't end. The battle can't completely end in the water. It has to land on the sea near the water.
I've seen it in the water.
It has
shallow parts.
But I think the latest patch has said that it can't do that way. Somebody told me that when I was playing the other night. I don't know if it's true or not. But you've got that time where everyone's dropping their cars off on the beach, trying to get to the houses, and you can just cruise right up before they even see you coming, right?
They hear that boat's loud as hell.
You shoot the boat at them like a spear and kill them with it, and it's great. You just pop right out.
It has been used against me one time. It is the best strategy.
Cork, I would like you to keep playing. I would like to play at some point. Do you have any, diving in, was there anything that stood out to you out of the gate? This game's more blank than I thought?
I want to get a face mask because I don't like the way my guy looks.
Just cover it up as quickly as possible.
You'll get the points. I mean, you get the points to get that.
Yeah, I got enough points to get one of those sweet loot boxes.
Yeah.
Dirty tank top.
Hey, you got to start somewhere.
It's not there.
The old stink top. Well, great.
We should play. Okay,
absolutely.
All of us should play.
I'm going to be playing that game for months and months and months.
Keep clicking on you on Steam and say, "Come, let's play." And you're going to keep saying no, but I'm going to do it every night.
If there's room in my party, I would love to play with you, Dan.
Really, he's too big and too full.
I know he's too cool for me.
I'm sure we'll stream it again soon here. But hey, for now, a Friday the 13th crew. Do you guys want to vanish out of here?
I want more.
High five.
Let's more. Okay.
Hey, we're now joined by Suriel and Shay. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Hey. We're here to talk about Tekken 7. Shay is a bona fide expert in all things T7, as he calls it.
He is the king of Iron Fist, is what he calls himself around the office.
That's right. Shay's played a little bit of it, but let's focus mainly on you, Suriel, the champion of the people.
Sure.
Tekken 7. This thing's been in Japanese arcades since 1989.
Yep. It was the first video game ever created.
We've seen it at so many trade shows.
Yeah.
How is it?
It's pretty good. It came out in arcades in 2015, and so we actually have an interview up with Harada about why it took so long, and basically his process was, from what I took away from it was that it was sort of like a beta period, but it was a sort of a polished beta because he mentioned that, okay, we want to have sort of very stable connections, but we want to improve on the game over the course of several years, but we want to have an experience that's good enough because if you're going to give someone $1 to play a game that isn't out yet or whatever, you want to have a good time. But
do you believe that? Do you think financially or from the business side of things it makes sense for Namco to release an arcade so early?
I wonder how much of it is just a fondness for that model of we want to have our game in arcades, because a lot of games, even Street Fighter V wasn't an arcade first release. A lot of other fighting games aren't arcade first, but the final product is weird because I enjoy it, and you can sort of tell what they improved. They improved a lot of balance. There's a lot sort of models and content in this game that I think it works to its favor, but there are other parts of it where it feels like at some point they decided, oh right, we have to release this in console, so here's a couple features that are exclusive to the PS4 version and consoles as well.
I heard there's a sweet first-person mode.
There's 2 VR modes. You can view. So one of the things that Tekken has had for a while is all these crazy collectibles where you can dress. So for example, my king is dressed up in a beret. He's got sunglasses, even though King wears a lucha mask that makes him look like a cheetah. But he's also wearing a giant.
Hang on, that's just a mask? He's not actually a cheetah?
No, he's not. He's actually.
I always thought he was.
There's
no truth in this art. Are you kidding me?
He's a wrestler.
Oh, wait, but the bear is really a bear and the raptor's really a raptor?
The bear.
Couldn't they just make him a cheetah head?
The kangaroo?
Yeah, is the kangaroo real?
The kangaroo's real.
Okay. Thank God the kangaroo's
Cheetahs
real.
can't fight, but bears obviously can. Everyone knows this.
This is a mess.
But anyway,
Is Heihachi's hair real?
it's the realest. Okay.
And it's spectacular.
Yeah. But you can equip all these kinds of stuff. Like he's wearing a giant pizza on his back. There's one of the hats is you can have like a Finding Nemo fish. I don't remember what it's called. A clownfish, I think.
Clownfish, yeah.
Just floating around. There's no water, so it's just like in the air.
This sounds like the loot system from Injustice 2, but wacky and more fun.
It is wacky, all cosmetic, so none of it affects your actual fighting.
Okay.
One of the things I found really weird is that you can just have the character holding a knife, but it won't do anything. So like during all their punches and kicks, they'll just have a knife.
So my Tekken character could just be a Velociraptor holding a knife that he doesn't use?
Well, not a Velociraptor, but you can wear like something that would make you look like a deer, for example,
With a pizza cape and a knife.
Exactly.
I'm into this.
It's incredibly silly and
I'm
it's
buying
very
this game
fun.
immediately. Sounds good.
But so the two things that I sort of took away from it was, the fighting is fine. It's more intricate than most fighters, obviously, because it's 3D, and if you want to move around in the space, you have to do a lot of dashing back and forth, basically, in order to figure out, okay, here's the ranges of my moves. I want to be able to not just mash or whatever. And so that part's a little tricky to learn. The thing is that the tutorial in this game is very short. It just tells you, here are 2 punches, 2 kicks. Here's a new rage art, which is sort of a super meter that you can do when your health is low. But beyond that, it's just here are the simple combos that you can do. But it just doesn't really say like here's why wall bounce. Well, you want to do wall bounces.
Yeah.
Here's why sort of some attacks connect during these stages and how high and lows interact. So it doesn't really teach you any of that, which is a little unfortunate. The other thing is that the story isn't as fun as it could have been.
Really?
So yeah, I mean, Tekken endings are a thing, right? Yeah. I think people love to sort of watch those endings just because they are so silly, and some of that is in here.
Can you give us the silliest one?
So there's a new character called Lucky Chloe.
Lucky Chloe?
Lucky Chloe. She's
Let me guess, she's hot.
She's hot.
No way.
She's wearing a skirt and she she wears like headphones that have cat ears, and she wears these huge cat paws. But she fights. She can kick ass. But her,
it'd be weird if she didn't.
The things they do is they have 2 story modes. Basically, they have a story mode that is sort of like a Injustice style, but much shorter, sort of singular narrative where you play different characters, and then they have several character stories, which basically replace the arcade endings from the last games.
Okay.
And so Chloe's ending is that Eddie Gordo comes in looking for, I think it's Jin or Kazuya. They're always looking for a Mishima, right? One of those 3 characters. And so they're looking. Eddie Gordo's looking for one of the Mishimas. Lucky Chloe finds him, and at some point they just fight for. And the stipulation is that if Chloe wins, that Eddie Gordo becomes her backup dancer. And so if Chloe wins that fight, because you can do it from both sides, obviously, then they have a short routine where Chloe's trying to teach him how to a specific dance move, and she's very stern with him.
That's good.
Yeah,
right,
that's good stuff.
fun.
Yeah, but a lot of them. The thing is that all of them are a text intro where they show a picture of the character. It's like, this person's looking for this killed his mother or whatever, and then you do one fight of 2 rounds, and then a cutscene, and that's it. Like they're very truncated.
Wow. Okay.
Which some of them that's all you need. You get a quick joke and then you're fine. But some of them feel like they're supposed to be part of a much larger story, so you don't really get that resolution.
So do you feel like even after so much time in the oven, it's still lacking features and depth?
Yeah, the story mode feels sort of where I think they cut the most corners because it is super fast.
Yeah.
It feels like they edited it down to like about half, and then they did it again. There are just scenes where, like I said in my review, there's a scene where someone is beaten up super severely to the point where the character who beats them up says, "Okay, this person is dead. I'm going to walk away now." Next scene, it is that person walking down a hallway saying, "Okay, here's what we need to do to kick his ass." So they just have. It has a very poor understanding of pacing, and it goes by in about 2.5 hours, 3 hours, which isn't terrible, but it's funny because the best part of that story mode ends up being Akuma, who is a big part of the story mode. I don't want to spoil sort of his involvement. Some of the trailers have mentioned it, but he steals the show in a way that I think is really cool. I like that they didn't just say, oh, he's a guest character, so he's not canon or whatever.
Right.
They just go ahead and say, yeah, no, Akuma's a real big part of the Tekken universe now.
So he's a Street Fighter character.
Yeah.
Do they acknowledge that? Like, oh, he comes from a different world?
No, they just say, the way they introduce him is just, there's been a disturbance in the Far East. Who knows what he is? And then Akuma's like, I'm a demon.
I'm a demon.
And I mean, I don't want to spoil it because they do actually have some big revelations about the plot line. So basically, the overarching plot is Heihachi and Kazuya throwing each other off cliffs for years, basically. The big revelation here is they tell you why that has been happening forever. But I don't want to spoil it. But
there is no answer to that question that could conceivably be interesting, right?
It's okay. It's not his father. It is something where you're like, all right, that makes sense.
That makes sense for why they're throwing each other off cliffs.
It's not the answer I would have wanted or was expecting or even cared about. But it's fine. When I saw the answer, I was like, fine, sure.
Okay, so you also reviewed Ultra Street Fighter 2.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Which seemed to be pretty bare bones and some of the worst UI I've seen in the game in the last
years.
It's just abysmal.
Bare bones.
Oh boy, rough skeleton patch. All right, so let's stack up all these fighters recently. Like,
yeah, there's been a lot.
Who is the audience that should go for Tekken 7 over Injustice 2 or even Ultra Street Fighter 2?
That's rough. I think Tekken fans they're going to like this game. The online connectivity works really well. There's multiple matches. One of the things I do like is that it incentivizes you to keep playing ranked because you never level down. You're always moving forward. So you can lose a match against someone who's much stronger and gain a rank. But if you win so you can get matched up with someone who's much higher ranked than you. But you basically, it's a win-win for you. So if you win, you can go up several ranks. So my first victory, because people who play Tekken games before they're out, they're pretty good at them usually. And so I was just getting my ass kicked constantly. But my first victory was against someone who was ranked 9th in the world at the time. And they beat my ass the first time, but the thing you can do is say like immediate rematch in ranked.
Cool.
So the second round, I ended up somehow taking it, and it was just all right. I'm done for now. I need to ride this high for a little while.
And for the record, I beat Surreal in Street Fighter 2, so in a way, I'm like the eighth-rated player.
If I beat, you mean win one round and then go undefeated, and then walk away?
Yeah, sure. That is what he does.
Okay, so what? So matchmaking's good. That's the angle Tekken 7 has over
it's just it is. My conclusion was like this is a pretty good version of Tekken that you can play on modern consoles. But it does have a bit of a rough learning. Like if you go into any character and say, I want to learn how to play this character, it's very hard to do so because you'll see you go to the move list, right? Which most Street Fighter games, you have 3 punches, 3 kicks, jumping, crouching. Sure. In this game, there are very specific moves that you can only do in certain situations. So there's pretty much every permutation of the analog stick and every button is a separate move. There are moves that you can only do when you're facing backwards from your opponent if you're hitting them from the front. There are attacks where if you crouch and then release crouch, and then as you're rising, you press a button, it'll do a different move. So you have to be super precise, and you have to figure out what moves you want to use. So that's a really tough learning curve, and the game doesn't really help you out with that. Yeah. But I played matches against people who weren't as good as the closer we got to release, and you can have fun if you just want to like run around and try to hit each other on that level. But I would still go with Injustice if you're looking for a fighting game to play and are new to them. I think Injustice does a pretty good job.
Yeah.
If you want to learn how to actually play Tekken, I would actually say go back and play Tekken Tag Tournament 2.
Oh, you prefer that?
Yeah, because they have a thing called Fight Lab, which is maybe one of my favorite learning experiences in a fighting game because it's very silly. Basically, the way they teach you high, mid, and low is they'll have robots jump into the screen and say, I have a low target, so basically hit me low, and you hit them low and they'll fly off the screen. It's very fun. It's very silly.
But beyond tutorial, you think Tekken Tag 2 is a better Tekken game?
I think it certainly has more characters, and I enjoy the tag. I mean, Tekken Tag Tournament was my favorite one, which is funny because they also have the ability to watch videos from those games and make those games your soundtrack. So I'm rocking the Tekken Tag Tournament 2 soundtrack.
Love that soundtrack.
It's very good. So that's what I've been rocking, and so which is something that goes to show, this is a great game for Tekken fans. But if you're looking to get into Tekken specifically, I mean, go play Tekken Tag 2. But if you want to get into fighting games, I would maybe go with another option.
Gotcha. Brian Shea, will you keep it down? Surreal, for a second, you have played just a very, very little bit of Star Trek VR.
About an hour.
Okay, we have this whole VR contraption set up. It's a whole co-op experience. It was described this morning as the most expensive version of Space Team on iOS ever made. Yeah. What are your very early raw impressions? You're not reviewing it, by the way.
No, I'm not. Matt Miller is reviewing it first.
The great Star Trek lord himself.
He's actually playing it right now. So, I think it is a very novel VR experience. I think it works on one level, but hasn't really worked for me on the other. So the thing I like about it is that it is very much sort of when you think about this experience in VR. That's what this is. So if you're, you can take 4 roles. You can be a captain. You can be navigation, basically. You can be tactical, which is sort of weapons and stuff and scanning. And you can be engineering, which is routing all the shields to, all the power to wherever you want to go. And so they do a really good job of giving you a lot of fiddly knobs of saying, okay, your movement isn't... the moving sort of... I played mostly the helm, which is sort of navigation. So instead of sort of saying, move the analog stick up to just move, it is, you have to hold the button down so like you have the right triggers are your fingers. I'm playing on a controller, but you can still play with the move.
Okay.
So the triggers are your fingers, and so you have to sort of highlight the area that you want and then sort of slide it up with the analog stick.
So it's Star Trek VR where your fingers become little players on a twister board?
Basically. Okay. And the thing that I find funny is that playing on a controller, you can only sort of hover around the buttons. So if you lean back, your arms start to stretch out. So like you can become
space is very weird.
So if you take a very relaxed posture, your arms get longer because they have to be on the thing.
Oh God! And sort of discovery.
Yeah, and so and you can look around the crew. Like Miller was playing with the Move controller, so you can look back at your team member, and they'll be waving their hands or whatever, doing whatever it is.
As they always are in the show.
Right. Well, I mean, it's something that he pointed out. It's like, hey, look at me, I'm waving my arms. It's like, oh, he is totally waving his arms.
This is how far we've come. VR has let us now see people wave arms, fiddle thing.
What's been the most interesting situation so far you guys have gotten into?
So that's sort of the problem, is that so far most of the missions I've played have just been about making sure you know how to use all the fiddly knobs.
Okay.
So the most, fighting is very simple. It's I haven't done any of the firing, but it seems like it is just okay. Make sure they're within your range, and you just press a button and it fires.
But if you're like throwing a knob to fire,
exactly.
I'm kind of into it.
Yeah. So it's as a game, it is not super involved so far. But I can't dismiss out of hand. So how fun it is to just see, all right, go to warp drive and you grab a thing and you move the analog stick forward and it does the thing.
Hang on, Dantak looks incredulous. Brian Shea hasn't shown an emotion in 17 minutes. Where do you both stand on
my opinion on VR in general is well known around this table, and like the whole like draw of like, hey, you get to move it.
Like we would follow your opinion on VR. What's your opinion on VR? Have your finger on the pulse of Dantak.
You don't follow Dantak on VR?
You should. Dantak on VR. It's a special Twitter account. I think it's overpriced and underwhelming currently at this time. And there are no good games.
And this is the peak of just that kind of lunacy in your mind?
I think VR has the potential to be an awesome thing in the future, and I think it was rushed again, and it's going to get that gimmick status.
Well, what about this experience in particular? You spend a lot of money. If you already own VR, and you want to have a wacky co-op Star Trek experience, is there anything wrong with this, Dan?
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think when I hear Shea talk about like this kind of experience, about how like cool it is just to like move things and see things, it's just like, that's not that entertaining. And are you going to play this game a week from now, 2 weeks from now? I don't think so.
No. I still think that. Go ahead.
I was just saying that's the thing for a lot of VR experiences. It's novel the first time you do it. You're like, oh, that's so cool the way I walked around the room if you're using the Vive, or I looked in this one thing and I saw like the scale of how big that thing was compared to me when I'm actually in the game. But when it wears on you after a while, or it's just like, oh, that's no longer as amazing as it was the first time.
And I'm not trying to be down on VR. I'm just saying, like, we're talking about a lot of the games around the table today, like the asymmetric experiences and fighting games. Like, this stuff is not happening in VR, and we're not going to see it in VR for like a decade.
E3's coming up. I'm sure there's going to be some weird E3.
I bet at E3 VR is going to be very downplayed.
I mean, Tekken's got VR.
Really? Even with like Bethesda, we know that they're going to push Fallout 4 in VR so hard.
They are. That might be like I said, it needs a moment where everyone's like, okay, now that this is there, it's a real thing, and now everyone will get on board or not. But like right now, everyone's just, maybe Fallout 4 will change. the universe of VR.
The problem with that is that VR never demos well at these trade shows because it's impossible to have everyone in a VR headset watching it.
Yeah, we've been over this. Like, it's not a thing that you can't explain to someone in text how it feels to play VR. It's impossible.
Serial just did a beautiful job of explaining.
He did. Fiddly knobs.
Fiddly knobs.
I'm in on this. All right, believe me.
I mean, like, I kind of agree with Dan on it. Like, it's a fun experience, but I feel like the future of VR is going to be at, restaurants like Dave & Buster's where you just go in and there's a nice machine. I feel like if you go there, it'll be the nicest one. It'll be the nicest ride you can take there. But I don't know if you want to go out of your
nicest pink eye.
That's right. Exactly.
I don't think he's wrong. Like, as the malls and retail shift to become more theater-esque experiences with their Dave & Buster's, and they're like, oh, you got to come here. We've got experiential stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's the next big thing for like your draws in Vegas or Mall of America or stuff like that, is they provide non-pink eye VR experiences. Like Dave & Buster's,
every time.
Dave & Buster's, some kid just took a crap in that seat before you got into Luigi's Mansion. I know. I've been there.
He's so excited about Star Trek.
I've been there. Spent a lot of time there rubbing my butt in that crap. I get it.
More or less. And I don't want to be like the killjoy here, but I think,
You never play that role.
I know. I just really think that's where VR is.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Look forward to Matt Miller's review of Star Trek Bridge Crew. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be very thoughtful, as Matt Miller always is. But as for now, you two jokers want to be mad at here?
Yeah, sure.
Whoa. Hey, welcome everybody. We got Andrew Reiner. We got Kim Wallace here now.
Hey.
Kim, you have finished the 3rd season of Walking Dead. You and I think maybe 14 other people within the United States at this point.
Wow.
Hey,
that is brutal.
Look, I would love that to be brutal, but have you ever heard of a more renowned game than Season 1 of Walking Dead and the 3rd season out? I have never seen a single person tweet about
You're totally right.
No, yeah. People are confused. I could put a gun to the head of any hardcore gamer and be like, what's the deal with Walking Dead? Is it still going? What episode are they on?
Yeah,
I don't know. Clementine's like an astronaut now?
Yeah, pretty much.
How did it end up overall, without getting into distinct spoilers here?
It's mixed for me.
Yeah.
It wasn't awful. Like, I did enjoy watching some of the developments, especially if you've been following Clementine's story now. We played as her last season. They kind of catch you up on flashbacks of what happened from the end of season 2 up until then. Ultimately, it feels like a side story in her larger arc.
Really?
They're definitely gonna pursue more of her story, and that's not even spoilers, because it's obvious they were gonna do that.
So not big changes for her as a character throughout all of season 3?
Same hat? She does still have her hat.
Oh, boy.
She gets a new look. I mean, it's Clementine. She's now a teenager. She's going through puberty, getting her first crushes. It's kind of weird. It's weird to see a character that we saw in season 1 who is just this little girl and kind of watch. It's very rare to see a character in the video game industry grow up before your eyes, kind of like that.
Dragon Quest 5.
Wow. It's not something you see every day. Like, young protagonists are something we kind of shy away from, and I think it's cool that you kind of gotten to see this girl from those beginnings to where she is now. But to be fair, I feel like she is the only thing that kind of holds people's interest and holds them on, and I feel like every time Telltale gets in a situation, they dangle her in front of you as their get-out-of-jail-free card, like, oh, well, this will bring people back in, and they'll be interested again.
Unless it's the Michonne side story, and then there was just not much dangling there. But you played that one, right?
Yeah, I did. Well, I played all of them up to this season, and I've lost interest in it.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Season 1, one of my favorite games of the year. What was that, 2 years ago? 3 years ago?
2012.
Oh, yeah, they are. And I feel like everything was very new and exciting there. Like, we hadn't seen those kind of decisions and choices as much in games, and we were all craving that. And then you get to it now, and it's kind of like, things are getting predictable. I can only go to so many settlements, have so many corrupt leaders. I mean, the TV show's also running into that problem, too. So it's not just... It's a hard thing to keep going and make it unpredictable and still exciting at the same time. And you get smarter as a player, as a viewer, at what's coming at you next,
Yeah. My problem isn't just Walking Dead. Like, I enjoyed season 2, and I thought it ended on an interesting note with, like, branching choice, right? Like, I was like, whoa, where are they going to go with this next? But I played so many of Telltale's other series. Game of Thrones, Tales from the Borderlands, Batman, Wolf Among Us,
Guardians now,
and there's this link in that DNA in the gameplay that they have, where I've just kind of
not just grown disinterested in Walking Dead, but kind of that Telltale formula at this point. I feel like it needs some kind of
like
change.
a reboot, a rehaul, or something.
Yeah, new engine
a new
or
engine, please. Besides that, but even just so, I noticed with this one though, one thing I'll give them credit for is I had 2 save files going, and it was the first time I actually felt compelled to do that because
compare and contrast.
Yeah, I used to rewind and then replay some decisions in the past, but I actually noticed they're doing a much better job at making your choices kind of factor into something. I'm not going to say it's as grand as in like, if you have a choice between 2 characters living and dying, if they don't die in that moment, they're still going to die down the line. Like you can't really prevent that. But I've seen different characters show up in different scenes based on what I picked, and even stuff that like in the last episode of season 3, stuff I did in like the second episode made certain characters appear in that finale or not, and I like that. So it was keeping a good track of my relationships too, because I had different choices depending on the relationships I built. So there's definitely room for improvement, but I felt like that was the first like step in a really stronger direction than they have in the past. I was really mad at the end of season 2 of The Walking Dead because, as Reiner said, it was really interesting. You ended up in different places, and then they kind of wiped it all away in season 3.
Yeah, I thought they were really going for it.
Yeah, that's what I did too. And then there's just there's some flashbacks that fill in the blanks, but it really didn't matter. You wanted that choice in the end to matter where you let Clem end up, and it's very, very small.
Is it just as simple as season 1, really great, stood out, in the industry quite a bit. Season 2 was solid.
Yeah.
Nothing too remarkable. Season 3, a notch below that?
Yes.
Yeah. Do they still reference season 1 at all? Like
so that's what else drives me nuts. They try to bring in like little callbacks, and sometimes like it kind of it tarnishes stuff that happened in earlier seasons. Like you're trying to force like a Lee connection in there or something, and it just doesn't work because they have another character do something that maybe Lee would have done, and you're just like, no, don't do that.
Wait, we're doing a Weekend at Bernie's kind of thing, right? Like it's not dragging Lee's corpse.
No, but
I'll be damned if there's Walking Dead in this game.
I mean, and there are some cool references, but yeah, it kind of some of the stuff that they did, I was like, you don't bring them back that way.
Wait a minute, so it's just like a character acts like Lee would, and then Clementine says,
"Oh, that reminds me of Lee," like something like that. I don't want to like spoil anything, but because there's a big moment in the finale, which if anybody is listening and has played it, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, and feel free to let me know how you feel about it, because I just didn't. I got what they were going for, but it kind of made me like, that's Lee's thing. Okay, that's how it made me feel.
Interesting. I think we can all plug in some holes here.
But also, that's bothering me too, is they keep bringing in these characters that are all kind of like versions of Lee to be like Clementine's like, mentor or whatever. You had Luke in season 2, you have Javier here, and they're all these like guys that kind of like, they've had like a little bit of a troubled past, but they really have a heart of gold, and it's just like, I just can't keep seeing the same character over and over again. Just need some new ideas.
Now, Kim, you're a features editor. I don't want to pitch you a feature, but I'm going to do it. Could you just real quick, just on the site, just rank every Telltale episode? Wouldn't that be interesting? Just a big list, every single one, right?
Man, I'd have to have some help with that. I didn't play Game of Thrones
or Minecraft.
Yes,
there's like 8 of those, right?
There's a few.
So where do the Back to the Future episodes fall in that rank?
We have to.
Wallace and Gromit.
Jurassic Park 1 to 5, baby.
I still want to play that.
I'd rank them by seasons. I don't know if I'd rank them by individual episodes. It's a little tricky.
So I like their games. I think they have great writers at times, right? Like once they get me into it, I'm there for the whole season. But something needs to happen there. Like they can't keep playing that shock card, that big moment. It's just they've done a lot of them. What is left? Especially what you're saying with Walking Dead. It seems like it's starting to repeat the drama.
The only time in this season was episode 4. I felt like they kind of got back on track and captured what I liked in the earlier seasons, especially season 1, where you're just like, that was crazy. Oh my gosh. Like, I don't know what to pick here. I don't know what to do. But it took them that long to get there. And then 5 comes down to really one really huge decision, and then that kind of speaks to your ending, which can end up in different places and is exciting. But like I said, it's so hard to be like, this is really going to matter. But the big takeaway from I think that whole season is that Clem's got some unfinished business to take care of.
And she will hopefully finish it. Dantak, you've been patient, you've been beautiful, you've been kind the entire episode.
Well, that's good. That's
He was just sleeping with his eyes open there.
He always does.
Awesome.
But now the spotlight is shining upon my son, my golden son.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind. You spent a lot of time with this expansion.
I have.
We talked about it before on the podcast, the details of it, but how is the end result? Where does it leave ESO?
So, final impressions, not really supposed to give till next week, but I can certainly give. I can give pretty
penultimate impressions.
I can give pretty detailed impressions right now. Honestly, I can speak to impressions, and let's just dial down into it. I don't want to get too lengthy here with this.
Sure.
So first off, it definitely nails Morrowind in all of its glory. If you like the old game or you have fond memories of the old game, this is a pretty immaculate recreation of that world. Cool. It looks so much better now. There's lots of Easter eggs that I'm sure that all the old fans are going to really enjoy. The new battleground system for PvP is really fun. It finally lets you do non-world PvP and do sort of instanced battlegrounds PvP, which I'm sure a lot of people have wanted to do instead of the giant realm war thing.
It's like the second best PvP battlegrounds you could play.
The new class is a lot of fun. The Warden, you can build it in a ton of different ways. It's very versatile, and it's great having a giant bear follow you around, eating everybody that attacks you. That's fun. The island offers a ton of new content. It's huge. Great. Lots of stuff to explore and find. Bosses to kill. Delves to go into. That's all great. I don't know if, some of the stuff that's really resonated for me is actually the stuff that they've implemented between the game launch and here. So not stuff that's necessarily even part of this expansion, if not expansion, whatever they want to call it, the chapter. And that's stuff like just making the game more like an Elder Scrolls world, like allowing you to steal, sell your stuff, join the guilds, and all that kind of stuff. That stuff's more in-depth now. So I just go into a town and try to pickpocket and steal from everybody for an hour. And that's more fun than killing monsters over and over and over for an hour. In some cases. So and if you're already playing, I think it sort of functions as a more elaborate DLC. Like there's a lot of content, but I don't know if there's anything earth-shattering in terms of changing the game.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, did it change your fervor in recommending ESO, like pre-Morrowind versus post? Even if you're not necessarily just a Morrowind fanatic?
That's important, yeah. And I'd say that it has, but the expansion or chapter itself did not do that. It's the additions they've made to the game since launch. My thoughts on launch are well known. I mean, I've already used that phrase today
multiple times. Yeah. Everyone knows how I feel about
it was
Angry Birds.
It was lukewarm at best.
Okay.
And now you can really tell through the time they've had to improve that game, they've done massive changes that make it feel more like a living, breathing world that you can actually get into. So definitely on that note, enjoying a lot more than I did the base game.
Well, there we go. Gwent.
Oh, hey, Gwent's a game.
Yeah, how is this?
So we're out in open beta now, and this is the standard no wipe open beta that sometimes the card games do. So if you get in and play now, there's a 99% chance that you'll keep everything from ranks to cards.
What's that 1%?
That 1% is if there's some crazy technical bug that allows people to do something crazy that they can't fix, and they have to wipe it.
But realistically, they'll be fine. So this is the card game spun out from Witcher 3 onto its own thing. Can't review Witcher 3. So Gwent, does it stand out in that TCG space?
It does, and the reason it does is because it is so different than many of the other games. They're either based on Magic or they're based on Hearthstone.
Yeah,
and you just take it, you tweak a few dials, and you do fiddly knobs, as Shirley would say.
That's right.
And you make a new game from a foundation that already exists. Gwent exists in a different world where cards don't have resource costs, right? It's just it's more like a board game almost, where I play a card, you play a card, I play a card, you play a card, and we try to get the higher number at the end of the round. Obviously, there's a ton of intricacy in that. It's not like war or anything, but there's a lot less RNG. So this is not a game where it's like, oh, I got screwed because I played a card that gave me a random effect. I hit the wrong target. This is always exactly what's going to happen, exactly how the game is going to play out. So in that way, it's a lot more like Go or chess. And you're working with imperfect, but you have a good idea what the opponent has. So some poker skills. So all these skills that come into a lot of other card games are here. It's a really skill-based game, and I'm really enjoying it so far. We'll see if it has legs. That's always the test, right? Perhaps the crazy, quirky nature of Hearthstone is the thing that keeps people coming back, right? That random novelty. Every set, it's like, oh, this could create a random crazy unit. You could win the game. This game doesn't have that. So if you're going to lose, you're just going to lose, and it's not going to feel great. Really cool Witcher tie-in stuff. They did a really great job on the art, I think. Cool. And they have animated cards, and It's an open beta now on everything, so you can accept the Switch, so you can play it on those.
There we go. Cool. So the real question is, you're ranking all of Telltale's episodes. Where does Gwent sit on that?
Or rank every individual card from every CCG.
Oh, I could do that.
Damn, that'd be the greatest feature of all time.
Oh boy.
Every card from every CCG
ever.
It would never be. I'd never finish that.
We can never fit it on the website.
Get to work. You want to do your job or not?
Yeah.
Okay, but where does
best
Gwent
idea you ever had?
Let's at least rank Gwent in the
where does it go?
playable CCG space right now.
I would highly recommend if you find yourself, as I do, trying out all the new CCGs that hit and finding them like, okay, this is really similar to Hearthstone, or this is really similar to Magic, and they just tweaked a few things. If you want something completely different, Gwent is that. It does not adhere to any of the standards of the other CCGs in the market right now.
That sounds like number 5, Anthony. I think that's where it is.
that's just below the PVZ CCG.
Yeah. You know, the PVZ CCG does not get enough credit.
How's the RNG in the PVZ CCG?
I don't remember. I only played it for like 2 days. But I gotta say, as far as like iOS only, or mobile only CCGs, that one's not bad.
All right, there we go. Do you guys want to move on to some great community emails?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We got some great emails from the community. These lovely people who are so devoted and so kind. They sent in wonderful emails to podcast@gameinformer.com. They sent in questions,
My favorite email.
prompts, feedback, anything that conceivably make this show better, more educational, more entertaining, sweeter, classier, funnier. Send in anything to podcast@gameinformer.com. We're going to read off all these emails, and then we're going to choose our absolute favorite and ship them out something very nice. But before we get to that, Dan Tack, you might recall, as the long timer at this table, beginning of the show, we teased the next game club.
We did.
What? So, short game. We want to do one episode. I think it's fun, just to grip it and rip it. Just one episode here, right? So what we're going to do, one of the best, which is slightly more timely because of its now very, very uncertain fate as a series, but we're going to do Portal 1. What? Whoa.
Grip it and rip it.
Grip it, rip it. Next week, next Thursday, we're going to talk all about Portal 1. So it is backwards compatible on Xbox One. I think everybody on Earth has it in their Steam library. Even if you
don't, I think there's free copies floating all over Steam at this point.
That's right. It's absolutely everywhere. But even if you just recall vaguely Portal 1, send in an email about it. But we would love it if you played through that wonderful game again. Send in an email about what makes it stand out. You know, especially what makes you appreciate it more through the lens of 2017, looking back on what an odd little special nugget that was.
It's a quick play.
Absolutely.
And as
3 hours.
It's really interesting to look at. Actually, this is like the first game club I don't mind that you picked because it's such an interesting game because at the time it was sort of like just a side note to the rest of the Orange Box, right?
Yeah.
And it turned out to be a phenomenal game.
Yeah, that's what people bought it for. A lot of people. Yeah. Dan Tack, do you want to join us for this game club?
Man, I kind of do now.
Really?
I actually kind of do.
We might have a big group. I think it'll be fun. But first email, Nick from Atlanta. He says, as feedback from last episode, so the PlayStation X and O, square, and triangle symbols were chosen with a specific reasoning. This is in contradiction with everything Andy said. Where he's like, I just grabbed it. I don't know. Who knows? It's just a effing square. So apparently, Tayu Goto, who was responsible for the design of the original PlayStation, has said that the X and circle obviously mean no and yes, obviously flip, blah, 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 blah. The triangle represented viewpoint, or one's head or direction, which is why it was associated with camera in so many PS1 games, which makes sense. And square refers to a piece of paper representing menus or documents.
That is unreal. I learned something today.
Yeah, I thought it was very helpful.
They had no idea what they were doing when they were making that thing.
You know, this is the point where you grab the paper. You look around, find the paper. You need that paper. Then you say no to the paper. So Nick from Atlanta also says, I also have a question. With E3 coming up, I want to know a few things from each person. How many have you been to, and what is your favorite memory of the first time you attended it in person?
Wow.
Your first show. Reiner, which was your first E3?
The very first one.
And ever. Every one since then?
1995? Yeah, I have not missed an E3.
That's wild. What do you remember from that first one?
It was small. Like, at the time, it felt huge. But, yeah, it was much smaller. There wasn't, like, nowadays you go to Nintendo's booth and you're walking, you're like, you know, it's gargantuan. Back then it was just, I don't know, 30, 40 feet per booth, you know. There was, like, Playmates showing off, like, the Wildcats game.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was very intimate, There wasn't like, Miyamoto just walking around, or, like Jason Rubin, stuff like that, showing Crash Bandicoot. Not a lot of people, a lot of space to navigate. Nowadays, it's crowded, loud, super loud. You have people walking around with decibel counters, like, you gotta turn it down. You're gonna blow up people's ears.
Those are cool.
So it's a very different show, and it was cool to see the industry grow in that time, right? Like, and it was pretty much overnight. I think it was like 97 on, it really just kind of exploded.
Awesome. Recently I may have seen some slides from photos that we took at the first E3 ever at some point. Unearthed those.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, they looked really cool. They were all in the magazine, but they were tiny. But actually blowing up would be sweet.
And so my favorite memory, though, playing Earthworm Jim 2, and Steven Spielberg standing next to me,
watching you play Earthworm Jim,
and he said, amazing. Nice hair to me. At the time, I had blue hair.
Shut! You've never told me that
and
story!
He was wearing a Lucasfilm hat. And I said, nice hat.
This is a great story.
Yeah, Earthworm Jim. But Spielberg just by himself. And he was showing off a movie maker app of some kind.
Which then launched so many careers. Everyone started out with the movie maker app from Spielberg. That's amazing.
And that takes me back to last year.
Maybe 2 years ago?
2 years ago, you lurking outside a booth, waiting for Spielberg to come out.
I think you texted me or something, and somehow it was communicated that Spielberg was in the Microsoft booth. And so it's like, well, there's only one exit here. I'm sitting right here.
There's handsome Gollum just sitting there like,
and then Reiner walked by like, hey, don't you have work to do? It's like, yeah, but I'm gonna set a timer. I'm gonna wait out here for 15 minutes. If I don't see him, I'll move on. But I just wanted to sniff his hair. Wow. Just let me touch the carpet that Spielberg walked on.
Okay.
You're a true Dawson from Dawson's Creek. Went down to the shirt and everything.
Wait, is Dawson super into sniffing hair?
Spielberg, but
what? Really?
Yeah.
That's part of the show's lore?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
So those are my two favorite memories. Both
That's very
Spielberg.
good.
What about you guys? Seriously, I want to
know. Oh, wow. I was trying to think of this. So this would probably be my 6th or 7th. I've lost count. I think for me, the first time I went, it was just walking onto that show floor with the music blaring and having all these games around me and not knowing where I wanted to go first.
Was GI your first E3?
No, I went before that. I wrote for a fan site, RPG Fan, and so I got to go with them every year. So I'd go look at all the RPGs. I guess my life hasn't changed too much from what I do at Game Informer when I go. But for me, I think just being able to be on that show floor and getting, behind the scenes to see the games is just really fun.
Yeah. Dan, I have no idea. You could say you've gone to everyone, or that you've gone to.
It hasn't been everyone. This
first one.
I've been to. This would have been my 8, but I'm not going. So I've been to 7.
Okay.
So I did go before GI, and then actually it channels into, I guess, my best experience. And the best experience I had, it has nothing to do with games. It was just the fact that the realization that the industry is so small.
Oh yeah.
In reality, and that was the first time I sort of because I'd been doing a lot of everything I did was on the computer, right, on the phone. I had never really gotten out. I was like, wow, okay, these are all the same people that you work with all the time.
Yeah.
And that was really the first time I've seen them like all in one place. I'd done the PAXs and the other smaller events. But E3 was just like it's the main event, right? Everyone is at that thing. And it was really interesting seeing it like that. That was my first time doing that.
Yeah, that is an overall lesson. It's amazing how small it is, and I think it comes through a lot in like the E3 tour videos we do. I don't think we've done a single one. We do one every year. We haven't done a single one where there hasn't just been a ton of cameos. It's like, oh, hey, Warren Spector, you want to pop in? Or like, hey, Bill Kohler walking by. Or hey, John Drake from now Sony. Like, there's just people all over the place, and it's just a big communal love fest.
Really,
we all talk about games. It's great.
And I've really enjoyed it for that over the years. Sad I'm not going this year, but someone's got to rep the home team, right? Stick with me. I'll be here.
Yeah, we'll be doing streams of the press conferences and a bunch of other fun stuff, which we'll probably outline next week.
Yeah, you'll hear a lot of
this whole thing.
I will.
Yeah, should be a good time. 2011 would have been my first year at E3.
That was with us then, right?
Yeah, for sure. I love doing the tour videos. Like that year, it was Reiner and Reeves, which is fun to go back and look at.
Reeves is just a rock star in those. Like you cannot. The things that come out of his mouth, you just never know. So you just gotta go with it.
And everyone always ends with like after 2 hours of filming, both people just looking dejected. Like that was horrific. Like holy cow, nothing funny happened. But if you wanted those short courses, just react to the insanity of E3, and then you cut it down to 7 minutes, it will be fun.
It's really good.
Yeah, it's always fun to watch. Anyways, Lucas.
That's your favorite moment?
Oh, I guess from the
What
first
the hell
E3.
are you talking about?
Yeah. First E3, I guess it would have been like lining up that Notch Todd Howard one-on-one thing.
That was amazing.
Which, was a little weird for a number of reasons. The video is a little awkward. I think, some people didn't know exactly what they were walking into with the format, even though I explained it very thoroughly.
Todd Howard and Notch.
But Notch was that was before Minecraft launched, and he was super sweet, and he was so excited to hand me his business card. And so that's just my stamp of interacting with Notch, and then just seeing where he's gone today. So what a world! But it's fun to go back and watch those two talk to each other. Anyways, Lucas from San Marcos, Texas says, "Hey Ben and GI, I obviously have a very broad question, but with E3 right around the corner, what's at the top of your wish list? Not what you think is going to come, but personal wish list." For Lucas here, he says, "I'm hoping for some big news on God of War, hopefully a From Software announcement. Keep up the good work. Thank you, sir." God of War, that's going to be a huge piece of Sony's press conference. Yeah.
I want to see Cyberpunk.
No way. Whose stage would it be on?
I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see what CD Projekt Red is doing with Cyberpunk.
That teaser, the last trailer they showed for that game launched the day Adam Beesener and I were in the studio for the Witcher 3 cover story.
Wow.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they couldn't announce Witcher 3 at that point, so they released that teaser just so they had some way of ramping up the staff. Like, hey, come work on Cyberpunk. Because that was easier for some reason to talk about than announcing Witcher 3 so early. But it was a small crew back then, and I'm really curious to see what it looks like now. Mm-hmm. That's overall, in terms of most anticipated games in the industry, that's got to be top 4.
Yeah, I mean, especially after Witcher 3, just trying to see what they can do outside of Witcher and all, just them going sci-fi, everything. I don't know. I want to see something from it, just a little bit. Give me something.
Let's really break this down, because Dan Tech, I saw you think about it for a second. What are the most anticipating games in the industry that have been announced right now?
Have been announced.
Red Dead.
The key here.
Red Dead, I think, is number 1. Yeah. What else we got?
God of War.
Sure, that's up there.
I mean, it's a whole new mythology. That seems crazy.
Would you put it above Super Mario Odyssey?
Neck and neck. And I would say God of War above just because of the install base on Sony. I think they're kind of in pole position at this point.
Yeah, sure.
But Switch is super popular, so yeah, I'd put them neck and neck.
Okay. And then I'm sure we're missing stuff, but Cyberpunk might be up there.
We are missing stuff. This is something you can just discern on the fly. I don't think we have to go look at things.
I don't think so, Dan. Wing it, baby. Stop being such a spider about
what's announced.
Yeah.
What's announced?
See, that's I think Far Cry really flew up the charts.
It did.
Just given the controversy of setting and story. I think
learn more about it. Stay tuned for the interview in the back half of the show. But anyways, personal wishes, you guys. What stands out?
Obviously, I want Bloodborne 2. Okay.
We knew that.
My personal wish. Yeah. Long shot wish. We get a new Metroid game.
It's always the one.
There was that one.
That's not a chance.
I know that.
Just freaking do it.
Nope.
I'm going to go off the rumor that's circulating right now of a handheld PlayStation 4.
I haven't heard. Okay, what is the rumor?
What the rumor is that it's a new PS4 form factor, straight up PS4, plays digital games, but is handheld. No. So it is just a mobile PS4.
It's so early to mirror.
Think about that though. But
I agree.
Just came out. I agree with you. But I doubt it happens. It'd be like $500, $600, but just think about that. And what a blow to Nintendo that would be.
It'd be interesting.
Sony,
it would be.
Just had the Vita, really kind of ended, 2 years ago? Yeah. I know Indie kind of stuck along with that for a while and made it a kind of a hit for a while.
Yeah.
Are they going to evacuate that space completely?
Yeah.
Are they coming back with another?
I think they're evacuating.
They're going to evacuate.
But if they don't, what would it be?
That's 2 big failures in a row for them.
Yeah, it's a fascinating idea. I'm with you.
It's not like they're making new software exclusively for it. It would just be another unit out there. So you have a PS4, you can just buy a mobile one, and
it's not completely crazy. Just crazy.
It's a good idea.
On my wish list, I just hope they show off a lot of State of Decay 2 gameplay, maybe that we'll get to play it, and I hope it capitalizes on potential. We also talk about that game later in the show. That's your wish?
The other big one?
Almost certainly gonna have. I mean, come on.
Yeah. All right. Honestly, it's I'd love to see more 7 footage from the remake, stuff like that.
Well, that's not going to happen.
Well, yeah, I'd love to see more Kingdom Hearts 3, but...
Right. And sometime in the next 3 years, I think, is a statement on that, yeah.
The wish for a real thing, Scorpio, I hope it matters.
That's cool.
I mean, seriously, I'm going to limit it to that. I hope it actually.
I think it's a good wish.
I hear you, but like maybe when you're walking on the show floor and see it on some nice TVs, it'll come through. But like during the press conference, people are watching some 720 stream showing like a new Forza.
It could be beyond that, though. It could be beyond just frame rate and resolution. Does that mean it has VR? Does it mean it improves multiplayer, like PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds? If that comes over, does that mean it's 100 player on Scorpio, but
is it a better
60
experience
on Xbox One? You know, like I want that to matter. I want Scorpio. They put a lot behind that. Their first party lineup does not look great at this point.
Right.
They need something.
Yeah, for sure. Also, that Rabbids Mario game. I'm excited to see gameplay of that. The internet losing its mind about that is just. I think that game's going to be better than everybody thinks it will be.
What if I already think it's going to be good?
Well, there we go, Dantech. Then we're in agreement. I think it's going to be a solid game.
I know, we never are, so this is the apocalypse right here.
But everyone treating Mario lore like it's some... It's not Last of Us, people. Like, let him hold a dumb cannon and play with rabbits.
You're one of these Nintendo fanboys, so like, you know exactly where this comes from.
How dare you? I'm always in the camp of experiment, go nuts, let's go for it. I'm the one who said all NES games are garbage.
He likes the crazier stuff, so...
Yeah, I like modern, experimental Nintendo, and I like the idea of them licensing stuff out to Ubisoft.
I think it's going to be really fun. Like, from what I've seen, it looks very fun.
What have you seen? You've seen the key art.
Yeah. And like, you know, they talk about look at that rabbit. The crazy characters, the weapons, the turn-based.
It's gonna be wacky.
I think it was funny, but yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be fun. Okay,
Dan, I'm with you. Most anticipated game. I'm glad we're in agreement. Anyways, Robbie in Tampa says there's a report recently that Final Fantasy VII may not be the last PSX era remake for Final Fantasy.
Correct.
I didn't see this.
I saw that.
What did it say?
They said that they were entertaining the notion of doing other remakes.
Nothing more entertaining than the notion. Anyways, he says, well, I'm personally hoping for a remake or a revamp of 8. He'd be happy with either.
8?
Meaning 8 or 9, I'd imagine.
That wants to do 8.
What game from the PlayStation era would you most like to see given a current-gen remake?
Parasite Eve.
Yes. I will double down on that one.
That could be interesting. What is the core Parasite Eve experience that you want in 2016?
I just want... Because I went back to play that not too long ago. Those controls not age well. I would like to see them recreate that opening scene again because it's just such a good opening.
That game is like, it's unique, man. There's a survival horror RPG.
Yeah.
Like, that's a non-entity today, but it was super cool then, and it's still even cool. The concept was great. I remember going through like, it's like so cool. It's like, oh my gosh, a haunted museum. This is awesome.
Is it tank controls?
Yeah, I believe
so. Okay. Like a little bit. It's like a hybrid thing.
Sphere system for targeting.
It's weird. Yeah, it's a long game. That's a good deep cut.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Final Fantasy 8. Actually, I would love to see a remake of Final Fantasy 8. And I feel like it's not as holy as 7, so they can maybe get a little experimental, and the fan base wouldn't be outraged about it. And it's clearly a drawback, which was the draw system. Like, just fix systemically some of the issues people have with 8. Finally, give Kim a reason to replay it, like she promised so many years ago.
I mean, I think 8 does get too much crap, but it's also not great. So like, there's this thing. It doesn't deserve to be cast out. Like the evil that people talk about is like, oh god, no, not 8.
Yeah,
it's just not very. Just it's completely middling.
You can't say that Parasite Eve is so unique and that 8 is just middling. At least like the setting and vibe of 8 is interesting. Then you have like universities that roam the earth and battle each other. Like that is a cool setting. I'm not talking
about the story of 8 at all. Just like the game itself is so average.
You have a gun sword.
Yeah, you have a gun sword in every Final Fantasy pretty much after 8. You do.
How dare you? I was also thinking of Square Game, Kim. I would love to see a team... I'll have to think about the team, but I would love to see a remake of Brave Fencer Musashi.
That was not... I thought you were going to go
little bastard
story for a second.
Oh, really? I've never played Vagrant Story, actually.
Oh, wow.
That's great. But no, Brave Fencer, I love that lighthearted, cartoony tone. It's very jokey. The art, doesn't hold up too well now. But I'd love to see I'd love to see like Platinum give like a good action RPG remake of Brave Fencer, but keep that tone.
Here's the thing, they want to do with the whole like live action thing and not turn based anymore. I think Parasite Eve would lend itself to that a lot more than another Final Fantasy, just dragging it out of its turn based.
Yeah, that's totally right. You're totally right, Dan. You really dragged it back, but yeah,
I would do 2 From Software series on PlayStation 1, Armored Core. I want to bring that back, and then Kingsfield. First person.
We have King. That's called Dark Souls.
First person dungeon exploring. Would be amazing.
Yeah. What about the last Armored Core was just on last gen. Did you play it? Were you interested at all?
All right. But I want a full on new Armored Core experience.
I think Miyazaki.
Those guys are on fire right now.
I think he's working on the Armored Core one.
Do you really think
you got a scoop right here?
Yeah.
Why do you think that?
That's just what I heard.
I haven't heard that.
Well, you got to keep your ear to the ground.
What ground?
This ground.
Hey, you pointed at the table, ladies and gentlemen. What a cool dude. Did we get them all? PSX. Let's remake them. Dan, I'll just assume yours is also Parasite.
Yeah, the Parasite Eve, just wow.
There we go. Cameron Calardo writes in and says, "Hello, Mr. Hanson. My question is, what is something that you were sad flopped? Could be a video game or a movie or anything. To me, Dread still makes me sad. It was an acclaimed flop because it was such an awesome action movie. Love the show. Keep on rocking." Thank you, Cameron. What's a big flop that just bums you the hell out?
So how are we determining flop? Like critical acclaim, sales, like it's not
all of it. Yeah.
Everything.
Alan Wake.
No, that's a good one.
That
Pirates
series had
5.
potential.
This isn't
Five the new one, or is it
5 is the new one?
Let's not do it that way.
This isn't a big one, but I was really bummed for the last Star Ocean, which was just awful. Like, they brought it back and got me all excited,
The critical
and then
flop.
I went to play it.
Is Tri-Ace still around then? Because they dug them out of the ditches, the iOS ditches, to
They
make
dragged up the last 3 guys that were working, right?
the Tri-Aces themselves.
That one hurt me a lot.
Yeah. One that I still am frustrated has not gotten more attention is Night in the Woods. I know we talk about it all the time,
I
but
haven't touched it. I want to play that.
that's so frustrating, especially
Oh,
Oxenfree
did it
got
not?
so much attention.
Did it not sell well?
It's selling all right, but the fact that it has not outsold Oxenfree, I just think it's a better experience in every capacity than a game like Oxenfree, and I don't know why it's not
I'm
catching on
surprised that
better.
more people are talking about it.
Did you play it, Kim?
No, not yet.
When it comes down to little indie games like that, right? Like you got to think some of that came down to the marketing, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I probably saw more about Oxenfree. I mean,
Yeah.
They did
No,
do
absolutely.
a big push for press with Oxenfree, right before it came out, because I remember I went and saw it. So, unlike Night in the Woods, which I didn't even know, I'd seen it at a PSX years ago, and I was like, oh, that game looks really cool, and then was waiting for it, and then now it's out. I gotta play it.
It came out. Yeah.
I've got a recent one.
Please.
I just went and saw Alien Covenant last weekend.
Oh, interesting.
So disappointing.
Why? So you guys are sticking with critical flop.
As people who are as someone who loved the Alien series at its beginning, anyway, I can at least say that. But what it's become now, just
Did you like Prometheus?
No,
I did too. Did you like it?
You will like Prometheus more than this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's the bar.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, you will.
I'll be damned.
Oof, God, it's just and this is the way for many the love series, I guess. It's just they get too far, they try to do too much without sticking to what made them cool in the first place. I don't know. Just
Play
that's how
Alien
I feel.
Isolation, I guess.
It's just I couldn't believe how off the rails it got. It is shocking. The more I think about it, it's so ridiculous.
Losing sleep.
Yeah.
Hey, Christian here from Modesto, California. When you guys do cover stories, do you get to do any sightseeing when you visit the different cities around the world, or you just stay there long enough to interview the dev team? Great question.
It varies, right?
It really does vary, especially if it's close to a weekend. Maybe we'll fly out and we'll have that one long night or something ahead of time. But it's case-to-case basis. But it is a bummer when you go to a city, even a great city, and you might even have a little bit of extra free time, but your hotel is just in a weird spot, and you can't walk anywhere. It
also has to do with deadline timing.
Yes, exactly.
A lot of times when we send someone to Japan, they'll want a few extra days, but it has to do with that deadline, right? Sometimes it's right around the corner, you got to write that story.
Right. Speaking of which, Tim and I and Dan Tack, we went to Japan for Dark Souls 3.
Tim and I on that was the most abominable.
Yeah, Tim and I took, obviously, the weekend before to experience Japan.
Yeah.
Really had a wonderful time. Just beautiful. And Dan Tack flew in for, a 14-hour window to interview Miyazaki, then flew out of Japan.
Yeah, I had to get the story done.
You always take a few extra days with Japan.
Well, especially ahead of time.
Nothing.
We didn't really have that option on this one.
Yeah, we did. Tim and I did it.
You really did? No.
What? Tim and I were there. What do you mean? You could have sat on the plane next to us.
I don't believe it happened.
You take the extra
Okay,
time.
all right, hot
Japan, man.
Kim, what's your favorite city in the world?
Oh, Tokyo.
Favorite city in the world. All right. Joe from Chicago says, "Greetings, Ben and Game Informer crew. I just wanted to write in and tell you about my meeting with David Hayter at the Chicago Comic and Entertainment Expo a couple months ago. I got to talk to him for a few good minutes about the excellent interview you and Tim Turry did on the podcast." That's amazing that you brought that up. Thank you so much, Joe. I told him how much respect I lost for Kojima after finding out he's been trying to replace David Hayter since Metal Gear Solid 3, and the awful way he found out he wouldn't be back for Metal Gear Solid 5, which he talked about in that old episode, which you can check out. Anyways, Joe says, "As luck would have it, my best friend, who's been a diehard Metal Gear fan his whole life, was getting married a month later, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to give him a priceless gift. So I had Hayter record a video framed as a codec message wishing him a happy marriage, then edited it with the help of a couple friends. He was so surprised when I showed him at his wedding, I thought he would go into shock. You can watch the final product below. Huge thanks to David Hayter and to the Game Informer crew for all the amazing work you do. Thank you. God bless David Hayter for being a good sport and doing these messages.
Yeah.
And
what a great friend, too.
Wow.
Like, that's a really...
Well done, sir.
Yeah. You're going to send that video around, right? Because I want to see this.
Well, hey, let's take a listen right now.
Wow. This is Solid Snake. I just wanted to call you by Kodak and congratulate you on your impending marriage to Allison. I wish you all the happiness in the world, but I have one question. I kept her waiting.
Pretty cute.
Aww.
That's so much
It's
fun.
amazing.
That's
That is
adorable. I bet David Hayter does that so much, like just voice messages and stuff, but that's a fun life, man.
That's great.
Good on him.
Everyone's good. Anyways, Quinn from St. Paul says, hey guys, love the show. I've been reading the magazine every month for close to 10 years now. My question for you guys is this. As magazine writers and reporters, you guys are almost exclusively restricted to nonfiction, but in the course of your careers, or just for fun, what are some creative writing, film, or other media projects you've been a part of? I know for a fact that Joe has dabbled in poetry, indeed, but I'm looking forward to hearing about the rest of you. Writing fiction.
I don't like going into this stuff.
I'm not.
But Dan, are you a fiction kind of guy? Have you ever written?
I've written stuff, yes.
Where? Like fan fiction you post online?
No, like it's been published. I'm sure some crazy person could go find it. But
Wait, is it good?
This is
Why don't you bring it? You're not going to tell us?
No.
It's a specific question.
This is like Joe Jubatier stuff that I'd rather
Poetry. It's poetry.
What's the vibe?
It just doesn't. No, you know what? I'm going to go back and say it doesn't exist. Don't look.
Is it romance? Is it steamy?
It's
detailed and pornographic?
It doesn't exist. That's the end of my statement.
Kim Wallace, you like writing a lot. Do you ever write fiction?
So I did do a lot of creative writing, nonfiction writing in college. That stuff is tucked far, far away. In high school, I wrote my own TV show, which was like a little like teen soap opera thing.
I call it Dawson's River.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah, which I just would like pass out to my friends during class, and they would read just because we were bored. And so I was always like, that was fun, but I never like did anything else with it. Like I enjoy a bunch of different types of writing, so sometimes write some fiction.
Yeah. Never published anywhere. You don't put it online, and you don't have a blog or anything like that.
There's nothing I've written that I'm like, this deserves to go out into the world. I guess.
Start with Sora walked through the woods.
Back when I had that Earthbound fan club,
That's beautiful. I don't like making narrative videos or anything.
You hate actors.
I hate
He
actors.
really does.
Yeah, outside of
whenever we
David
act
Hayter.
here, it's just
So
it's
weird.
uncomfortable. He tells us to do it, and then he's like yelling at us, like, "Quit acting, but do it."
I hate that insincerity. I interview actors on the podcast every once in a while. It goes fine. The great David Hayter. I mean, come on, there's great ones out there, but just there's something gross about do this thing that's in my head. Act out my vision on screen. It just feels.
I don't even understand this.
It weirds me out. I don't know. Anyways, Alexander Reed says,
"Whoa,
do I get to answer?
You said you didn't want to."
Well, I don't like doing it, but I'm gonna.
Yes. All right.
I wrote a novel called Prime, a Genesis series event, and the sequel's coming out this summer.
Is that
called
right?
Splice, a Genesis series event.
Isn't there a Jeff horror movie called Splice?
We're totally piggybacking. All right, same story.
And this is like your Michael Crichton homage.
It is, yes. So you can go read that now. It's action-packed. Action about dinosaurs in space.
There we go. Alexander Reed, hello, Ben and crew. Why don't you guys have a news section on the podcast? Just a short little segment where you discuss new and ongoing gaming-related information. It is a big gap, I think, in our overall coverage. I agree, Alexander. We talk about doing stuff a lot. The easy solution is if you see a news story you want us to talk about, write into podcastinginformer.com. That's a great avenue to touch on these beats. Right, Dantac?
well done, Ben."
Thank you. Matt Wixon says, why do you think everyone hates on Bungie for their above-average content, even if it's sparse? It is true. Every time we talk about Destiny on the podcast, there's always this avalanche of like, shut the F up.
But you see that for every popular game.
Yeah.
You get a more vocal crowd of haters the more popular game is because it's a bigger pool.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there's a certain Venn diagram of popularity and also depth. Because when people talk about, like, systems in Destiny 2 or even Destiny 1, like, you have to dive deep. There's a lot of lingo. There's a lot of specific terminology that can be really off-putting to a wider audience. I think there's a certain combo that's just lethal, and Bungie has found it, and people hate hearing about Destiny, so I'm sorry. I think except for the people who love it.
I think a lot of people really got burned by that first game, too.
Sure.
Like, there's a lot of people that stuck around and played all the expansions and played it every day, like Miller and Andy. A lot of people, though, just hated it out of the gates, thought it was a false promise on Bungie's part, and I think they're carrying that torch and pitchfork still today, right?
Yeah.
So I think it does get kind of a bad rap for that.
Yeah. Mark from Oregon, he's having an ongoing debate with his friends, and he needs to write in the Game Informer to settle this debate once and for all. So
That's what we're here for. That is what we're here for.
On this hot question.
Here we go.
Might seem like a simple question.
Oh boy.
Is it?
Does water have a taste?
What?
This is a trick question. Is this Jeopardy all of a sudden?
Is water the neutral flavor, or does water itself have a flavor and or taste?
Now, is he talking about pure water? Because
I'm not talking about urine.
No, I'm saying like the pure chemical element of H2O. Because obviously, water you get from anywhere is going to be go through filters.
Let's say we're talking like beautiful, pristine mountain lake. Dipping your hat into it.
All right, I'm going to say yes.
Everything in the world has a taste. There is no land substance that has
I'd argue
no taste.
Dan doesn't have any taste.
All right. We'll see what happens after the show.
So yes.
Yeah, everything has a taste. It's just very, very, very mild, right? Like,
is it, or is it just become our default? But in a world where Gatorade is our default, is water like, what is this?
But that's not the world we live in, so water has no taste.
Kim, does water have taste?
Yes.
Therefore, does spit have taste?
Water has a taste.
Like, answer the spit question, sir.
like my own spit or like your spit in my
Let's find
mouth?
out, sir.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
What? It's a question.
It's science.
Why do people love to talk about spit? It's just
yeah,
You know,
it's
like-
pretty gross.
I found out Reiner's ultimate gross out thing is apparently fingernails.
Oh my
toenails.
god.
What?
Hanson in our private Game Informer channel wrote us someone clipped their toenails in Studio B. Isla Sorna, we call it.
We do need to find out who did that.
Well, why would someone
And they're
do
on the
that?
floor.
Covering the floor.
I would imagine it's the same person that had a pee-pee party.
Reiner wouldn't even look at the toenails, though. Like, he was horrified.
No, I wouldn't either. That's
awful.
gross.
It was gross as hell. I had to vacuum it up.
Yeah, Hanson's like,
Who
I
does
pushed
that?
him into the corner, and I was like,
When do you even have time? When do you think to yourself,
I don't
I'm going to go
know.
down to the studio and trim?
I know someone who used to work here that used to do that, but that was years and years ago.
I feel like someone is pranking us with doing all these things.
Destroying Game Informer from the
just
inside.
They're little subtle things that are really...
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
really weird.
Even though it doesn't line up, let's blame any potential new hires we may have that we'll talk about in a little bit. Anyways, so to settle the debate, the answer is yes, water has a taste.
yes.
This made me laugh because I remember Jim Riley, former Game Informer editor, disconnected from the toenails and fingernails.
Are you sure?
Yep. As far as I know. Anyways, he would argue that he hated the taste of water. I just don't care for it. I think it tastes bad.
It does have a taste, though, right?
But who can think it tastes bad? It's a taste, maybe.
It's a very neutral
very bland,
taste.
yeah.
Anyways, that's it. There you go, Mark. Hope you enjoyed that. Here's a killer question from Brian Rodriguez from Dallas, Texas.
I've been waiting for this one.
Wait, what side was Mark on? Did he say?
I think we might have just crushed Mark's dream.
Yeah, I want to know.
Hang on.
Yes, or I didn't next week.
I don't think he does say.
Well, that's
He didn't.
Yes, or I didn't.
He didn't lead us in a certain
It's
direction.
good that he didn't, because that way would have tainted the framing of the question.
Yeah.
We would have liked to.
I will lose sleep until he tells us.
He did ask us to describe the taste of water.
Bland.
Oh,
Yeah, mild.
A neutral
Yeah,
element.
there we go.
I remember my uncle blew my mind once where he said, he's talking about like the limits of the English language, which I think Metal Gear Solid 5 is largely about. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, describe how a hamburger tastes. I was like, oh God, my brain's shattered. We have like 3 words for taste. Yeah, it's not much.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, Brian Rodriguez from Dallas, Texas said, would you take $1 million? By the way, Dan, he said he asked you this.
I have been asked this one already.
Would you take $1 million, but you could only play for the rest of your life games that got a 7.5 review or lower from Game Informer, past and future games included? So wherever Game Informer the rest of your life sets that bar, 7.5.
For $1 million.
So you can never play Persona 6,
Right.
Last of Us 2,
And again,
Overwatch 2
that comes out that has above us.
Yeah. It's a great question.
For $1 million.
I have my answer.
I have my answer.
I can start this off.
Hang on. Kim, do you have your answer?
Yes.
She's really.
All right, let's all say it on the count of 3, whether or not we would take that deal. Would you take the $1 million? 1, 2, 3. Yes.
No.
Kim, you're yes?
Yeah.
We're gonna live like millionaires. We'll have $1,032,000.
The money will last you a couple years, and then you'll never get
Couple years, $1 million? What are you doing, High Roller?
the money will last you a couple years, and you'll never get to play a great game again.
You can buy a house and live out the rest of your life comfortably.
That's the way to look at it. Yeah. It's insane. It's like saying you could never view a great work of art again, or visit a different country. You just
look. There's still plenty of games to play. And
especially for me, it's going to cost you a lot more than $1 million.
A 7.5 is not a bad game, though.
Exactly. You can play plenty of good games. Especially think of our review score. Like we talk all the time about League of Legends that got a 7.25 or something. You could play that the rest of your life. There's plenty of games that are under that benchmark that would be great.
So that's your whole idea? You take $1 million and play League of Legends the rest of your life? Well, good luck to you.
Yeah, Kim and I are going to live like kings.
I would do it. Because I think I could spend my money on other entertaining things, and it wouldn't be a big deal.
Now, the question is, you just have to hope that Game Informer wouldn't review certain games, right? Like MMOs, you could still play in theory.
Yeah.
Oh my God. See, Ryan?
Yeah, okay.
But I guess you could find games that weren't reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that too.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend my life
I think I would have options, and I think that it wouldn't be awful.
Money doesn't matter.
There we go. Hey, for the last question, we need another person at this table. You guys want to clap and get him in here?
Oh, gosh.
1, 2, 3. Hey, Wade Wojcik. Hello. Welcome back. 2 weeks in a row.
Thank you. Wow, it's good to be here.
Wonderful to have you. Why are you here? Why did you warp in?
You came up and said, "Hey, come down to the podcast room."
That's right. What news would you like to give to our listeners and viewers?
I am leaving the Game Informer team. This is my last day.
Because you're becoming an astronaut, or what fantastic job could possibly drag you away?
Now that you said that, I might go for that. I am working in the film industry. I'm going to be working on a feature film.
Because Wade cannot wait to go work with actors. That's his dream.
Yes.
Holly Wade.
One of the things you love too, you told me multiple times you love actors, you love voice actors.
We already went into that. We really on this show. I don't care for it, but I'm glad that you're devoting your life to it. It is very sad to see you go, but congratulations. Very passionate on it. When we brought you in, we knew, hey, this guy's passionate about making fan films, about narrative-based films, and that passion has pulled you out of our just ripped fingers trying not to let you go.
Yes.
So this is your last day at GI.
Mm-hmm. I'm upstairs trying to finish some work right now.
Oh, fantastic. Don't say what that work is. It's top secret.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff, actually. What's the lesson? What's the overall takeaway from Game Informer?
Oh, wow. Always do what Reiner says.
And favorite moments?
Sure. Yeah, what are some of your favorite moments? I said this, okay, so we already recorded some episodes. Yeah.
Starting this Friday? Yeah,
starting this Friday. 3, in fact, and so I did a little goodbye video on that. It's weird, exciting. I'll be gone, and then a couple weeks from now, we'll do a goodbye on the replay. But anyway, I talked about some things on there. Extra Life is by far my favorite thing that I've done here. Marathon benefit things for raising money for cancer, and I love listening to those too. It's like a community. we'll be recording a video on Justice 2 movie. It's okay, we can talk about Justice 2, but just like I was just maintaining our lives to always have a backup of like, hey, at any time, this is the campaign. This is the mission we should be pushing. And the difference was like, hey, we raised money for a new camera. All right, everyone, tune in. Yeah, donation like we'll have one podcast. So that was a big one. We played too. Being able to work with him is now gone, but Ryan and Dan and everyone went on replay has been so much fun to work with, especially Sonic the fellow guys. Yeah, one thing a lot of people don't know is like it is such a collaboration between everyone, not just like making the games. It's the fiction that we came up with the season 4. That was all of us working together to do that dumb stuff. So yeah, it was fun to work on. On that collaboration note, we talked about it last week, but if you've enjoyed the podcast, video podcast, in particular over the last several years, that is way into board that is trying to nod and smile along the way, but switching the hell out of all those camera angles. Yeah, I do like that's right. Well, the question is, were you in the booth?
Ready?
No, I wasn't actually. Good segue. Today we've got Leo Vader. What? In the booth today. So Wade did not be replaced, but we replaced him with someone named Leo Vader, who had been on the podcast before. He was a former video intern. So Leo, you want to pot up like 5 over there and say hi? Not working. Oh, we hired him. Oh, there we go. We got you now. Welcome to the big show, Leo. I'm sure we'll hear more of you, but how's it going back there? So good. You guys are doing great. Keep it up. We found the one person sweeter than Wade. Sweetest in the world. But Wade, do you have any wisdom for Leo? Start playing down for extra life because it'll be tough to top last year. Hey, that's not the competition. Yeah, that's the competition. But Leo, please never miss. Anyways, it's been a pleasure. But before we let you go, Deep Down Brian sent an email. They say Jack Crew as well. I don't have a question. I just want to hear Wade sing for us. And I think we'll go a little something like this takes away from it. Come on, get on here, crank that song. Crank it. This is your song. That's my song. Go. It ain't no worries for the rest of your day. It's all problem free. Good luck to be a good of the time. Beautiful way. Brian, beat up Brian. It's great to be missed. Thank you for all the hard work at GI. So the extra mile for excellence. All the best. Wait. Well done, dude. Mike, cut it out.
No, we're fucking for you.
We have to let our community know when you can talk about your new project. I'll still be on the group, obviously, .com. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where we go. It's going to be really awesome. Right. There you go. Bye, Wade. We love you. Godspeed. And now we're back. Hey. What do you guys like the rest of the week? Oh, man, I forgot. How dare you? Favorite movie moment versus and also, because the movie was Nick McLean bundled with the information about the PlayStation. I think that's the best home runner. Water. No, I'm not going to give it what? You gave us a fish a couple weeks ago. Where are the fish going to go? Water. The fish is a reference name. This was just like, water. Yeah, I like alright. Nick McLean, I think that sounds real nice. Thanks so much to everybody that wrote in. Podcast.com. In the future. As for now, stay tuned for the Richard Rouse. Helping out Overdrive, Quantum Break,
So last time we worked out with you, we're on a cover story for Rainbow Six Patriots. You're the narrative designer or narrative director on that one?
Yeah, I was narrative director on that game for a couple years.
Couple rough years. Couple tough years, I'd imagine.
But what was interesting, it was funny when I talk about that, I say it was 75% of really good.
That's a good way to frame it. I'm really focused on that. Well, I can talk about it a little later, but just since the Rainbow Six
well, after we did stuff for a couple of years, we wanted to move back to the US, the Seattle area, which is much tougher. So there, I was in their sort of publishing groups. I would help out a couple different projects, do everything from just reviewing their builds, giving feedback, also prototypes for them, and stuff like that. So I worked on something never stuff right day, but also worked on Sunset Overdrive multiplayer for a bit. Worked on Quantum Breaks, Serene Junctions for a while, and I spent the most time on Stage A and zombie survival game, which is, I liked everything I worked on there, but that game is the most of my life. So I really like working on that.
You focus on the life of the game, right?
Yeah, no, I came on right sort of as the shipping.
Okay.
So they were already had the breakdown of the DLC, which was the first DLC of the fight. So worked on that a bit, and then worked on Lifeline, and then worked on what is now Stage JC. So, no, that started right way back then. I mean, I so early days on that. Just glad that it was very open about what they want to do in the future of their games. So, from the jump, we were super pleased with how well it had done. Coming out of sort of an Xbox 360 XBLA title and the XBLA as we know it, or as we do it, doing as well as it did because it was, it was selling good. I think it was the biggest on service other than Minecraft. That was a surprise to everyone given how excited it was.
Yeah, I mean, everybody talks about problems, obviously. It's still a bit janky out of the gate. Still, just love the game. There's so much potential there. Was that an exciting project to work on kind of Microsoft?
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of what I like to play, it definitely was. I agree that they would agree that they're not it's not like the last one it's all about a super polished, very specific experience. It's about a really broad experience with a lot of things you can do and a lot of different ways you can choose to spend your time. Experiences you can have that are more emergent than what you think like The Last of Us. I remember the first game came out right at the same time as The Last of Us, and there were some interesting comparisons. Obviously, that was PlayStation 2, so that was dedicated to so that helped a little bit, but it was also the same sort of overall world of zombies and stuff. Just different take. So,
what's it like to be a narrative director for a game that's celebrated with emerging quality?
No, I mean, I've always been a mix of game design and writing, going all the way back to my first projects. I've always enjoyed that space where the game design and writing work together and inform each other. If you're designing things that'll help you tell a story, and if you're choosing a story that'll help the game mechanics work. So I've always, I have a different guy. I think that Rainbow Six project was one where I was, strictly every job I've had, I've been a good designer. So I'm someone who my dreams and narrative are not about I want to get across this one story. It's more about I want players to get into a world and poke around in it and contribute to the author. It's a big subject. You heard that term advocating authorship. You're giving some of the authors for their players. The game doesn't really, the game narrative doesn't really exist until they play. More so than obviously others who are bring your own, interpretation of characters and your own baggage, whatever helps you help the script or something. But again, you're obviously a lot more than that. I just like, I do like games that have a very side things you can do. Initially, it's been very emotionally resonant because of the gameplay that would happen with it. The one we always talk about is the mission. Sort of after you play the game for a long time, there was a mission that sent you back to where the tutorial was at the beginning, where you were going back to find a really bad watch or something left behind in the conversation. And that was the story that just came up over and over again. It's like, oh well, I had to get rid of the watch. It would help me. And it's like there's no cutscenes, involved in this. There's no big, doesn't keep you not do it. Doesn't really impact the larger story. But it's super hard. And I think it works for some reason. It sends you back to where the game started. You haven't played through in a long time because you've been in sort of the main open world instead of the narrow heights of the tutorial. And it sends you back there and you're like, oh yeah, I remember this happened a long time ago. And so you have all those sort of feelings as a player. And then you're like, I'm going to go get that watch. Wow, that's the most beds I've ever seen right in this place. I'm like, invested. You're like, no, I'm going to do it. You die there. There's multiple characters trying to get that watch back. Because it's sort of death. There's like, I want to do that. Well, I lost that time. I'm going to get it. It's a nice little play space where it is. All sorts of different things can happen about how you want to get it. That's interesting how that was a mission that way less time probably than like all the more scripted stuff that did. The narrative that resonated the most with players. So that's a fact. It really is like think about what resonates with players. I think you get the base game, like 6-2, and then the breakdown DLC was just going all in on hey, it's survival, fun experience, you don't have the story, go for it. Then my time you guys try to steer a little bit more towards the other case. At the end of that experiment, about like I think this worked better than we thought. Those two tentacles of DLCs, like what do you think goes to one? Yeah, I mean, I can only say, I've talked to the dead guy about it a little bit. I was using Microsoft right around the lifeline for shipping. But personally to me, I was more into the breakdown experience. Because after you play the game a long time, it's more of a pure survival thing. You run your guys out, but it's super challenging and stuff. Lifeline to me was a really interesting attempt to make it a little more urban environment. But this was more about guns. There's more time pressure, so it had a lot of sort of interesting experiments in it. And I liked that it was showing like the military point of view versus just the survivor point of view. Because in the main game, the military is more like they're up to something and you don't quite trust them. So it's always cool. I always like other people's point of view. Like, they have reasons for doing what they're doing right. So I think all that was fascinating. But for me, but I go back. So I mean, being on that publisher track group, we never really hear much about that perspective. What is that like? Is it stressful? Is it educational? Does it jump from project to project? I mean, you're just SEAL Team 6 or anything like that. Is that how that works? Yeah, I think maybe SEAL Team 4. Okay, perfect. SEAL Team Xbox One. Definitely, at Microsoft back then, certainly these things evolve over time, but the philosophy was trying to just empower the people to work with the best thing possible. So it wasn't about us to progress or whatever. It was more, hey, how can we help a team that's already good, maybe do something weird with that project that we wouldn't do otherwise, uploading features about doing some good thing, or how can we just be someone who's awesome when you're working with a publisher, publisher. The feedback we get is like producer type people, this type of people, market type people. So Microsoft kind of has designed the direction whether it's sort of a separate publishing group, so that we were getting feedback on that about, obviously we were still purchasing conversations and shift from here's how we can do it, we can, but it was more just fighting for the creative input. Microsoft was had one person trying to control the business side, the creative side, like one person dominance, and the public way. So having two like strong personalities, back and forth on each other, and trying to make those better and so fun. That was sort of the dynamic. not a lot of publishers. So how do you not come across as the manager? I mean, you're working with these really tight development teams. Company like Grant, it's a great team. They've worked for so long. Like, hey, you're Mr. Microsoft. How do you do that today? Once in a while, or how do you take that? Yeah, it's definitely being on site, working, and building a relationship where they can see, if they're with the publisher comes, it's this type of people or whatever. They're going to do X, Y, and Z. They're going to talk about how first all the time, if you're Skyping with them regularly or whatever, just being able to say like, hey, I'm really worried about this creative. And it helps usually these people that do this job have a track record of, I worked on 5 years, 2 years, right? I did, on the other side most of the time, and I'm just able to do this. I'm publishing a thing now, and they say, I get it. You understand our problem more than only this. Right. So that was, then usually there would be feedback from their own team on, or their own manager, or from the producer side. You could say, hey, that's cool, let me go back to that, whatever, and then get them. This guy could really help me out when I need it, and they start, trusting you more, stuff like that. But it doesn't take time. It doesn't happen every time. Like, not every project ever crosses that. And that's, fun. They still, they're creating the game. So that's actually their responsibility. More than mine. Oh, I think he came in. You're right. So, yeah. Like Joe said, oh my God, Wales fans, back in the day. So he was in sort of doing some overall narrative. He came in sort of in my time there. What the structure your time of Microsoft so talented developers and individuals are paid to stand out and developers kind of blow your mind. Oh, I never knew that this person was talented. Yeah, I mean, certainly we can talk about Insomniac and, Undead Labs. Those are all very different teams, very distinct makeups, and all very impressive in their own ways. And it's interesting, the longer you do this game development thing, going team to team, you always think you're going to find the people who have it all figured out. This team knows what they're doing. They're a bunch of ninjas, no pressure, they don't need any help. And I find that never happens. Are still like development hell for periods of time. What's going on? Like our people around the neck. So it's rare to find. So it was a team I would often had said, guys who make pinball effects. And I worked on a game called Apple. That's just a little, sort of looked like a mobile game, but actually was out on the gameplay as well. It's like a, Angry Birds, with like tower defense, cross. That makes a pretty cool little game, like a nice little title. And they were just really and they're just raw. No, they're and they're just off in their corner of the world doing their thing. You don't hear them. It's great. But they were just a sharp team, and I would give them feedback. And we talked about this. It was very nice when I said, hey, we should do a different level that's like this. And they said, here it is. And they were just very open to getting that and trying stuff. So we did it very good. It was just that they cranked out so many pinball tables, so many pinball games. They're just used to, just going through the entire phase of production and sealing off and getting it again, so we just toned it down to another 2 sound. Yeah, and I think they were, a little less, certain that they had it all sorted out on their end. So when someone came in, I played through the whole thing. I think usually working with publishers players, you'll find someone like they only play the first level or something like that, because they literally just try to use their head on all the track all the funny stuff they're tracking and schedule stuff, and then check out your game in their spare time, right? Whereas I had a bigger time to play, and often they would say, hey, I was on level 5, I tried this, and this happened. That's another thing that the developers really sort of respect you. They're like, oh, you're the one who's putting my game. This is awesome, particularly if you establish your well, more analytically, because that's a rare resource. Often a lot of science, like software, whatever, you have time to play the game for 5 hours, right? Like, what you really need to do to find out how it works, play the whole thing. But if everyone is doing their tasks, everyone is doing scheduled for review or whatever, you're often dropping the little things which are and if you do have people playing for a long time periods, they're quality assurance folks, great, but also on experience designers themselves. So it's great to have someone's work out good stuff out of that. I think there's people that does that.
One of your pull somebody off, have them play the game more, just break the chaos. Like, what are the thematic lessons throughout all these examples?
Yeah, I mean, definitely always remember to play your game. I think Peter Molyneux talks about that as well. That, when your friendship is just caught in your sight of, what you're doing, you don't stop. So let's just play what we have, where it is. I guess the other thing I've learned, like that example, was like, I would just throw an idea, they just try it right away, instead of having a long debate about whether we should try it first. Obviously, they couldn't. That was a waste of time, but often it's like, hey, we've got a problem. Everyone will have a problem. Instead of like debating, writing a bunch of documents about what we should do about it, maybe we should just try something out. And you have to set up that. Really just saying, what are you going to do? And then just know that you're going to throw out. But then someone was like, yes, that's there. And then go back. I've seen a lot of paralysis state. Just not moving on that problem, but not also trying to fix them faster. Is that because of leadership?
Is that where you just a strong leader that's sort of been on board?
Yeah, I think a strong leader is part of it, but really it's a culture thing. Some teams are just people to just try stuff and do it. It's okay. Other teams, everyone's more worried about, I don't want to look bad, so I can't try this thing that thing's going to look good. I don't want to try to make that piece of art that I think is wrong. I don't, they're just more sorry about what they're doing. And then that but I think we have a company culture, because it is often interesting looking at studios. Very rare for a studio to change radically to go from making lower scoring games to like really high scoring games or something like that. Sometimes they may have making a really good experience but not having the budget to like make it look good or something like that. But it's rare to say, wow, they weren't making fun stuff before, but if we just give them these 3 hits now, they will. It's more like they've got to cap that there. And no one leader or no one person is often going to change that, particularly.
So what was like after Microsoft?
Yeah, so then after Microsoft, I launched which is making this game in Church of Darkness. Sort of a micro-sized endeavor. After doing, I've had a range from working on super big projects on working on like the Suffering, the Xbox era, that were AAA games for the time, but smaller teams, like 40 person. And then going to Microsoft, working on the giant projects, shipping really great projects, but working on it as an advisor, publisher side. For me, it was like that was really cool, but it's to get that. And then I also, having been with all those big companies, publishers, wanted to make something that could be a little more risk-taking. I think it's still a game that you still have console players, PC players, so maybe you didn't have to play all of them. Maybe you could make something that's more personal a bit, and also just to not subject matter to not everyone what you say. Has this been blowing my mind for years and years? Like, man, everything's all this game that I'm using. There have been, the game, I don't know, the Church of Darkness was working on it. So religious cult in the 1970s, sort of infiltrating it, top-down style, sort of like a Metal Gear. I had various pieces of the inspiration floating around for a while, but it all came together and really started working. It looks like a really interesting game. Looking at screenshots, I still look at confusing compared to Metal Gear. Looking at screenshots, it's like a simulation where you're just controlling one character infiltrating this compound. Right. Yeah, the setup is that there's this religious group that we call a cult that has moved down to South America in the 1970s to isolate themselves from most of America. And you, the player, are an ex-cop who has a net with the government agency. The great thing about this outbreak is that you, so his mother says, hey, you just try to sneak down there and get this out. So he's like, yeah, I'd like to try this. I don't think they're not like, it's not like a wall compound with like chain with barbed wire or something. Yeah, I could probably get in there. Though as you get in there, it's like, wow, a lot of these guys have that's really the problem. But so the game is really trying to get in and find it, and players able to decide how they want to do that. So yeah, in terms of the core gameplay, it's mostly it's not about find stuff with the gun. You only got trying to get it bullshit. You only got 8 bullets for it. You get more bullets, and you take that down. It's not about walking through the 5 guys. Usually, if you encounter with 3 guys, you should just run. It's more about or you can also play like pretty stealthily. The voice completely you get some behind guys, push them out one by one. A couple people with axes so that you get that where they can chip everybody in the map. And I'm always like, how do you use that? I'm glad that works. Open world, but sort of, kind of that sort of top down, like I call it fast paced stealth. Gameplay, so it's not like it's more like moving. If someone sees you, just turn and run, and they'll give up on you. So it's not but it's also inspired by I love the original concept before Wolfenstein Shooter. Yeah, Wolfenstein, you may not know about this. Tell us, Richard.
Ready?
Before the Wolfenstein 3D that it made, it was a top-down, illustrated Nazi passing made by this guy, for the Apple II. It was working to like Commodore 64 and all those systems. And it was actually really ahead of its time. I just like immersive sandwiches, finding costumes. You're like able to bribe guards and stuff, or you can shoot guys one by one if you want to. And the castle regenerates every time you play. Well, it doesn't regenerate every time you play. It regenerates once. And you can force a castle to happen. Or you actually, while you're playing, if you like throw a grenade, box a grenade, it blows up the castle and forces the castle on you. So you're sort of learning this map knowledge and you actually blow up the very next fading. And it's like, nope, are you really so I had a lot of sort of elements in it that were not a lot. So obviously Metal Gear, I was never like a stupid game. That had some still that top that nothing about that top that. Yeah, Metal Gear just like I always call it 5 world, but it's called 1 that's the broad picture. Yeah, that's fair enough. It's not it does not have the budget of Metal Gear Solid 5. I don't think anyone does. I don't want people to think it has the features of Metal Gear Solid 5. But eventually the core of that gameplay, so one of the what's the riskiest thing about this? What makes it stand apart? Yeah, well, I mean, setting it aside, religious cult, is something, doing it related to that I think is something that a lot of other people because we're going, like, they're Christian, they have very strong adult beliefs, they're also socialists, and they're ranting about the government, and they're set up as your antagonists. You're trying to go in to find your enemies, but you're actually not sure if you're playing if they're a bunch of crazy, apocalyptic religious nuts, or if they're just a bunch of radical or progressive. They espouse a lot of things. Would say, yeah, that actually sounds pretty good. They're pro-immigration, they're anti-Vietnam, they're elderly and all this stuff, and they're some people can get behind that stuff, right? You're like, and that's well, these guys good or bad, and in the game, it actually changes every time, like whether the cult leaders are this sort of dangerous apocalyptic strain, or if they're just a bunch of radical. It changes every time. Right. So the game has roguelikes all the time. So it changes where you start back, the objectives are, changes who it is, but also changes the narrative. So we're trying to figure out which way their dogma this time. They're always Christian socialists, they're always railing against the US, but sometimes they are the type of culture you about them, which is the dangerous type of self-destroying, or have to destroy someone else in the end. So sometimes they are that. Figure that out and get out of there. And they decide what you want to try to save the world. Or they're the radical aggressive. Your nephew's like, I don't want to leave. Time to find him. You decide, this time, I guess. And then, you there, you choose the force to come with you. They want to come with you and follow you on. Then you have to get back out of the time. You can decide to go try to find a puppy to solve them. That's the plan. Very simple things to them. If you decide. But if you decide in the wrong place, if they're going to guys who want to go here out in the jungle, and you come back to a believer and say that you're exactly the sort of horrible person you have to try to not accidentally trap yourself. The jerk. That kind of variety, narrative variety in roguelike questions, how it's not too much. Are there any examples you look to? Where you're kind of pioneering something? Yeah, I mean, that's what's fascinating about, the rise of roguelikes. So many roguelikes just say, well, we've got a setting. We don't really have a narrative. It's just like a setup. And that's cool. The one I like to look at is Some of the Sea, Phil Better, obviously that sort of came from a place of fiction originally. Because they took a lot of that structure. Like, what if we made more about exploration? We could make it more roguelike like this. It's sort of like, I felt like it's all about it. Then why not tell a playable narrative and then working roguelike elements into this sort of hybrid. There it sort of shifts up where your characters are, so it's like you're get it. And the characters stuff like that. Change by character sort of scene. It doesn't quite like different. Games that experimented with replayability narratives. There was one called Murder on the Vineyard, which was a set aboard the ship, murder on it. You figure out who it is, but you get murdered, and the murdering changes every time. It's sort of like where and they just cleverly like figure out and then analyze each time and then play it for something like most games. And that like, yeah, now I can replay solve this different murders. Yeah, using like the 90s where it's like getting changed up. I think every time I play exactly all the characters not be replicants, but like that game's actually very simulated. It's like actually going to the complex story. Anybody at this point, you can get different endings based on which romantic character you play with, whether you're a replicant or not. I think there are 40 different endings. There's like 7 core endings, and then varying from characters are present or not. So, and that was sort of an interesting case to me because a lot of people didn't realize how interactive the narrative was in that game, and they just played it like a conventional adventure game, and they were like, oh, great, I did that, and they didn't realize, oh, I can go try again and get a completely different story this time. Because they did nothing that had to there was no bars telling you that. There was no like as we're evolving interactive narrative,
So it's interesting. I know one of their cycle they take it out and save it. And then the announcement of Far Cry 5 recently. Yeah, it's a little game. I don't know. It's a company called Ubisoft. Are you familiar with it? Right? What is your take on a company as big as Ubisoft? Something as controversial as got into the scope?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the arrow of being a indie developer absolutely a year ago. Take the time to announce it. Someone else might realize I suspect that announced. But yeah, I have a fan of Far Cry games. I'll go ahead. I'm sure a little bit of one, but I like to go by but I also like 3. I'm the guy who likes those. I totally different. It's just like a house ride with crazy characters, and then one just like dark meditation on that happens. So I like those games. Certainly over 3 and 4. Blood Dragon. They've shown the brand of that game is sort of very sort of settings, and then just like a player do whatever they want to do, slaughter some exotic animals for their wallets and whatnot. And that's a lot of fun from that game, but maybe I think hard to tackle serious subject matter while having that sort of fun house ride all at the same time. So I'll really see the Tekken subject matter they're obviously trying to tackle in the game. And I think that if I had to guess based on what they've shown, I have no support knowledge of it all. Based on what they've shown and what that brand is, Far Cry, it's going to be more akin to the top.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, it's something that's written about a controversy already. And I'm curious what you think about a company like Ubisoft being willing to wade into a controversial water. I think Ubisoft gets a lot of crap for their time to power among the mass of but again, but they are an interesting company that takes some bizarre risks that they can keep up to credit for. Some of the quirkier Rayman stuff, or Valley Hardcore, one day brand. What do you think about a company that big, embracing controversy? What I mean, if you look at Assassin's Creed, you mentioned, that's been doing about Templars, here, suggested certain cycles for Templars or not, right? I mean, what's your Templar? Right, so I think they could wade into these controversial waters before. It's just a little more the background story, the story, right? Far Cry 5 is more like, here you go. And that was something we were dealing with on Rainbow Six Siege, with that was said in, you were dealing with your own American terrorists. That was not something Ubisoft wanted to do at that time, and apparently they did it. Changed their mind in the world that Far Cry 5 reveal came out. I was like, what's the true Patriots honest? And obviously they're different, right? You've got, they're in Montana, they're a little more, religious, like they
was that edge. It's not quite a Christianity. I think they're becoming things. However, they might be hard to say. I do notice that other sites are being the ally of the Christian right? It's absolutely. So I think they're quite saying, look at him. We don't see nothing. I don't know. What's it like to be inside of a company that's recording company and stuff like that? PR is always going to be really on edge with the interview, or what is it like to be in something? Yeah, I mean, way back, I've had a good experience with a smaller company. Farther than that, that was Midway company. Midway was more combat company, right? So, yeah, the suffering we were doing like a lot of door and language stuff that hadn't been done before. They were just like, all right, let's go. Let's be the first company to use this swear word and stuff. Pioneered being sent to prison to tell than other games. But then also, like a slave ship on the beach, and there was this, and I was always pretty sensitive, how this is going to look, and the executive I worked with Midway were very like, I'm glad that we're not just, setting the place. They were happy to just, so they were just very, it wasn't the problem. Ubisoft, there was a little more, I felt like they trusted us to talk pretty seriously about subject matter. It would work out most carefully with regards to what exactly that event. It's something, if you're someone I'd like to give away all of your games, just like the spoilers stuff, right? Maybe you want to release something right before you launch to drum up some interest. So more on that. There was, I think they called it, they're French company, so they're a little less shy about court controversy, I think, in the first part. And then they're, way up on the wall. Then, myself and Craig are also American subject matter, so they felt like we had a handle on it. There were times where other team members would go much farther with the concept. We would, look at a clause. I don't want to speak based on that, but they were obsessed with how an American would react to something like that, right? You can imagine if there was a subplot about 9/11 or something, you could see how someone else might bring that up, this is this picture we could put here, no way. My brother was in New York at 9/11, God, did not do that, whatever it is. So it was more, sometimes with that, or something a bit more out there, I feel like, in that case. But I think, every company, has a different level of service to it, like every publisher, with EA or something like that, Assassin's Creed, all of the first person stuff, it doesn't seem like it fits itself that right? Every company, one file, Honor, or one where you start out one place. I believe, from an EA's point of view, even that's the first thing I think back on eventually, but that's how the game, it was. Yeah, but with, I watched some leadership we did, very dry, I feel like I should have done better job, but you did a great job on camera. But it was interesting just hearing you and your career talking well, it comes out, you're on Fox News, interviews about this, and were you just racing for that rough but interesting finish line that was never came? Yeah, no, I mean, David and I were both felt strongly enough that we were treating material seriously and being thoughtful about it, that we were going to be able to defend it. It wasn't like we were just trying to exploit, the situation to get some laughs or get some or something like that. It was just designed to make things thoughtful, so I defend it as necessary. And even with that coverage, we did Cold Wars actually did a story on it back then. Cold Wars is more now, it's sort of personal prominence with the current administration, but back then they covered it as being some horrible thing which existed. And that was interesting to see. Yeah, they weren't getting anybody to do it. So yeah, no, we were ready to do it, but also felt strongly enough that it mattered being good and thoughtful and just a new take on like we're tired of shooting the same thing all the time. Yeah, there are scary people over here too. Yeah. So I think that's a controversial topic. It's as simple as that is ultimately what brought that project down, or what you see as the nail in the coffin, not being able to but in terms of why it's not how those decisions were made not necessarily how it's something where we can do this one. Looking on the inside, feel like projects are going along maybe not before you feel it starting to go that way. Sometimes when later when you realize I just spent a year and a half of my life on something that's come out, and that's just a fun creative so that's there's that frustrating side of it, but sometimes you can look back and see the warning signs of like, well, I remember that meeting where they said this, and then we said, no, that was fine, or whatever. We should have dived in and talked about that. And then we just saved everyone a lot of trouble. So I tend to look back and say, where were the warning signs? There, I didn't see the warning signs, so I couldn't tell you what exactly. I couldn't tell you what exactly. I've heard, tell me if it's just really off-base, but I heard talking to somebody once about it. They worked on it, they're like, no, I think it's as simple as Call of Duty is a tough thing for Rainbow Six fans to deal with. And trying to figure out how much you court that audience, how much is it true, right? Like, and you did that just a wild oversimplification. How much do you think is that? Yeah, I mean, while we were working on it, there was a lot of talk of let's just go after Call of Duty. This is the Rainbow Six decide to shoot a franchise. We still have our points of differentiation, but let's make sure I feel a little more straight ahead. I think the earlier Rainbow Six games at Tekken has been more accommodating to our audience. Like throughout their first campaign and stuff, they thought, with how well if you look at, I haven't really seen, but my impression of it has gone back earlier Rainbow Six, back to the planning, they sort of, I think the market changed under it a little bit. I don't know if this is looking at it from the outside, I can see how everyone can position themselves and then people like, no, we think that makes sense more different than that. Or it just takes a much more different angle. As games become more multiplayer games, and it's just turned out to be. It became clear you could make a game that could do that. From the whole time, most of the time, I guess I was working on it, the multiplayer was really fun. So it was like, this is a good shape, like, and that was great. The multiplayer is stuff, and then had it, change radically. I think they realized you could make something that's more like a live experience versus like, play a 10-hour campaign. I think mostly the fact that I'm an indie developer and don't have time to think of multiplayer shooters. You have to play Battlefield. Come on, I know. That one's still like, that's been out like, that feels like that's been a couple months. There's still time for it. That was like, oh, remember when we were in the Battleground so much? Yeah. What game? I don't even remember what you're talking about. Now we're playing, Battlefront 2. Battle World or something, right? Anyway, so we'll see about that one. So that game looks awesome from what I've seen of it. For Siege, it was just, bad timing in terms of I'm not working on that type of game, and as an indie developer, I work constantly, and I've also got, kids, and they're not going to play Rainbow Six Siege, so, when I play other games, it's more like Super Mario Maker or something like that.
that is more like a wholesome experience for the whole family. And then I play games like Hitman or Dishonored or something that's more like in the wheelhouse of what I'm doing. And plus, you can just get in and play that for 30 minutes and feel good. Whereas it always feels like with some multiplayer experiences, it's like, now I got to sink in some time to not be embarrassed in these matches, right? So
going back to the beginning of the conversation with that 25% for Rainbow Six Patriots that's boiling within you, I mean, is it frustration? Is it guilt, regret? Do you ever just wake up in the middle of the night and think, God, if we just would have done this, we could have pulled that ship into harbor?
Yeah, I don't look at the past that way very often, I guess. Like, I look at it analytically to think, what would I do differently next time? But not in a specific, like, in this one case, if this one thing had happened, something else would have happened here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know that, and I'm still sort of murky on what the ultimate reasons were for it. So yeah, I don't have a good answer for that one.
Other than the lesson of, have those tougher conversations early. Don't put it off.
Even there were so few warning signs lit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I've seen other projects go wrong and not come out. Or I'm like, I was always like when I worked on a Western game a long time ago, long before Red Dead Redemption. And I think the studio head and I just saw different games, right?
Yeah.
And that's the sort of thing where you're like, oh, I convinced him, but I did, you kind of got to get the key players at least on the same page about what exactly you're making, and there have been other projects like that too, where it's like, I think I love this thing, but this guy who's an important boss of mine doesn't like it, but it's okay, it'll work out. So you need to come to the version of the game where everybody is really into what you're making, or it's just going to be too much of an uphill battle to get it done.
Yeah, it's interesting. Tell me if I'm drawing too much of a line directly from Rainbow Six Patriots to Church in the Darkness. Do you feel like you learned how to court controversy and now you're embracing it to try and push the industry forward? Is there any direct link between those two experiences?
Well, I mean, I think there was, a frustration of working on something I believed in and then not getting to make it that led me to think, as an indie, you're your own boss, right? You don't have to deal with, trying to convince various factions that this is a good idea. Like, I still have to convince the public it's a good idea, or convince the press it's a good idea, or convince, the team that we're, going in a certain direction with stuff. But it's just fewer layers, right? Of because sometimes there can be 18 layers of people you feel like you need to convince just to keep going forward with something. And that's where, when you're working on a game that costs $50 to $100 million to make, they're right to be asking those questions, right? They're right to be saying, who's this going to piss off? What will that do to X, Y, and Z about, our ability to finish this, or our ability to sell this in Walmart, or whatever they're doing, or not get it banned from Steam or something like that, right? So that's not much of a concern. So it's right that these people are having these questions when you're spending that much money. So I think if you want to do something that's more out there and weird, it's only appropriate you spend less money making it and just try to make it the best thing you can. And that's sort of, I'm a fan of a lot of, indie films and obscure metal bands and stuff that are not doing these big elaborate things, but they're just doing something that's very personal to them and making it work at a smaller scale financially, but still making it an amazing experience for people who want to turn out for that. So it just seemed like, for this type of stuff,